Chapter 6178. Since it's a place my wife wants to go, why not? Di Baichen held her soft little hand and slowly walked towards the back of the mountain. He also wanted to see what the entrance to the land of heritage looked like. As a person with the cursed body, he had always been regarded as the only hope to enter the land of heritage. However, no one would have thought that this place would become a place where they could no longer enter. The Di family's territory was very large. Even though they had lived here for so long, there were still some places that they had never been to. As the two of them walked to the back of the mountain, they realized that there were still cultivators from the Di family guarding the place. "Young master, madam." The guard bowed respectfully. "Let's go up and take a look." "Yes." The back of the mountain was very large and surrounded by mountain peaks. It was not very conspicuous among the mountains. However, this was an extremely important place for the Di family to pass down their heritage. Today's sunlight was very faint. It was bright but not dazzling. As it shone on the body, it gave off a sense of warmth. Accompanied by a gentle breeze, the smell of grass wafted to the tip of their noses. It was comfortable and relaxing. Such good weather, it's really suitable for going out. Bailey Hongzhuang spread out her hands and allowed the breeze to caress her body. It was as if her whole body could float with the wind. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's delicate and beautiful face, Di Baichen's gaze became even gentler. Fortunately, he had such a cute person by his side all this time. "Let's continue." Opening her eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang naturally held Di Baichen's hand. That warm feeling made her heart calm down. The smile on Di Baichen's lips never disappeared. Even if he was just quietly looking at Bailey Hongzhuang like this, it was a kind of happiness. Soon the two of them arrived at the land of heritage. In front of them was a circular altar-like existence. It was entirely made of white jade and faintly had a hint of cyan antiquity. The entire altar was very large and gave off a sense of grandeur and magnificence. The moment he arrived, a heavy sense of history hit him in the face. Everything here had a sense of vicissitudes of history. Vaguely, Bailey Hongzhuang actually felt that everything here was very similar to when she had entered the Darkness Temple in Radiant Saint Hall. Even though everything here looked simple, the feeling it gave her was very similar. What a magical place. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed. Di Baichen looked at the scene in front of him and was also shocked. This altar looked very simple. There weren't many complicated totems, and it didn't have the mysterious aura of an ordinary altar. It looked simple and ordinary. Perhaps it was because it was too simple that it gave off a feeling of returning to simplicity. The circular altar was enshrouded in white mist, and there was only a small round base in the center. This circular tray was very delicate. It was circular in shape, but it was split into two in the middle. However, there was a gap in the most important position, so the two halves were still connected. Noticing this, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood. "If I'm not wrong, this should be the place where the blood fuses, right?" Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at Di Baichen, her eyes filled with curiosity. Di Baichen nodded slightly. That should be the case. The two of them walked to the back of the altar. There was a huge stone door here. Chapter 6179. Obviously, this should be the place where the three keys were placed. Thinking back, it was really strange back then. The keys to your family's inheritance fell into the hands of the three families. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Thinking back, the three family heads should have been on very good terms. She didn't expect that after so many years they would become enemies. If the three seniors knew about the current situation, they would be very disappointed. However, time had changed too many things. Even families that had always been very close would change because of some accumulated resentment. Hearing this, Di Baichen nodded slightly. "I also think this is very interesting." Back then, it seemed that the ancestors of the three families had discovered this place together. However, in the end, it became our family's land of inheritance. However, the things in this land of inheritance are not only for our families. Although the land of inheritance hasn't been opened for many years, I've checked the previous records. It said that every time the land of inheritance opened, the three families would reap great rewards. I see. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. So everyone's land of inheritance is a very good opportunity for the three families? Indeed. However, the gap between the opening of the land of inheritance became longer and longer. Perhaps it has something to do with the deterioration of the relationship between the three families? Di Baichen's gaze was distant. Because of this land of inheritance, the three families had developed to this stage. Thinking about how this land of inheritance might not be opened again in the future, he felt a little uncomfortable. The Jun family had been protecting the three great families for such a long time. From now on, the Jun family would completely disappear from this world. Their primary goal was to get rid of the Jun family. After that, the Xiao family would be the next step in their plan. After so many years of friendship, in just a few short years, it had deteriorated to this extent. But who could say whether it was right or wrong? Everyone stood on their own standpoints and made decisions for the good of the family. Just like how the Jun family and the Xiao family tried to deal with them, in order to protect their families, they could only destroy each other. Bailey Hongzhuang quietly looked at the totem in front of her. She only felt that the place where the 3 keys were placed was very mysterious. This totem had an indescribable aura of simplicity. Beichen, don't you think this totem looks familiar, as if you've seen it somewhere before? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. She didn't know why she had such a feeling, but she couldn't control it. Beichen slowly walked closer and his gaze fell on the place where Bailey Hongzhuang was looking. With this look, his heart seemed to be touched for a moment. It was as if he had seen something that had been deeply imprinted in his heart many years ago. It was an indescribable sense of familiarity. Most importantly, the resonance from the bottom of his heart was a feeling he had never felt before. How could this be? Beichen stared at the ancient totem in a daze, his mind blank. He had no way to think about whether he had really seen such a totem before. What he was more curious about was why he had such a strong feeling. What happened? Bailey Hongzhuang noticed that Beichen's expression was different from usual, and a look of concern appeared on her face. Chapter 6180. Beichen did not answer Bailey Hongzhuang, and simply stared at the ancient totem in the same posture. An indescribable sense of familiarity filled his heart. He felt as if he had once lost a piece of his heart, and the totem in front of him was related to the missing part. Bailey Hongzhuang sized up Beichen. She did not understand why Beichen had suddenly become like this, but she also knew that the latter must have fallen into a strange state of mind. This situation was similar to the time when Beichen suddenly had an epiphany in front of the gate of the Darkness Shrine. This was the inheritance of the D family, and Beichen was the fated person who was most likely to unlock this inheritance. Hence, such emotions were not strange. However, why did Beichen's expression look so sad? It was a kind of sadness that emanated from the bottom of his heart, as if it was an unbearable pain in life. Even despair would not be this bad. She slowly shifted her gaze away from Beichen, and looked at the totem again. There had always been a kind of complicated emotion in her heart, and she felt as if she had really seen this totem somewhere before. Most importantly, she did not know if she had been affected by Beichen's emotions, but there was also an indescribable sadness that spread in her heart. She stared at the totem, and when she came back to her senses, she suddenly realized that she had unknowingly burst into tears. How could this be? Bailey Hongzhuang wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. It was clearly the first time she had come to this place, so where exactly did these emotions come from? At the same time, Beichen also came back to his senses and his eyes turned red. It was obvious that he had been suppressing the emotions in his heart previously. Beichen turned his gaze and found that Bailey Hongzhuang was actually crying, and his heart tightened. Dear, what's wrong? Seeing the concern on Beichen's face, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly heaved a sigh of relief. When she saw Beichen's expression earlier, she suddenly felt that it was a little strange, and at this moment, he was the one who had always been by her side. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and shook her head. I'm fine. I don't know what happened just now, but when I looked at this totem, my heart felt very sad. You too, right? She said in a certain tone, because Beichen's expression from earlier was deeply imprinted in her heart. Beichen did not deny it. Looking at this totem, there is indeed a very strange feeling. Perhaps we have been affected by the emotions of the Land of Heritage. Back then, the 3 great clans were on such good terms, but in the end they ended up like this. That's why even the Land of Heritage felt sad. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang fell into deep thought. Was it really like this? She did not know. Since we are already here, we see if we Beichen's blood, we can't. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her willowy eyebrows, her eyes filled with interest. All this time, only the blood of the D family and Xiao family cultivators could light up the Land of Heritage. Once the blood successfully opened the Land of Heritage, then they only needed to place the 3 secret keys on it, and the Land of Heritage would open. Although they did not have the 3 secret keys now, if they were lucky this time, they might be able to gather all of them. This way the D family would no longer need to be kept in check in the future. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's excited look, Beichen smiled and replied, All right. The dagger drew across and the blood immediately dripped into the round tray. Chapter 61-81. The blood on both sides gradually began to fuse through the gap in the middle. Gradually, the blood turned from its initial bright red color to a faint golden color, as if half of a gold leaf had been dissolved in it. It looked extremely dazzling. The more blood fused, the more intense the golden color became. In the end, all the blood had turned into a dazzling golden color and emitted a mysterious aura. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other as they watched this scene curiously. They had only heard from Di Yujue that there would be a certain change after the blood of both parties fused, but they never thought that it would be such a change. Wow, how magical! Xiao He looked at the situation in the round tray in astonishment. This was the first time she had seen such a thing. It was indeed worthy of being called the land of inheritance of a large family. Master, since the blood has changed, does that mean that we can use your blood to open the land of inheritance? Xiao He looked curious. It would be impossible for an ordinary person's blood to fuse into this place to cause such a change, right? Di Beichen's face showed a thoughtful expression. Although I have always said that I wanted to give it a try because of the secret key, I did not come. Father also did not explain this matter too clearly, so I don't know what is considered a success. In fact, it had been hundreds of years since the last time the land of inheritance was opened. Everything could only be found in the ancient books of the family. I vaguely remember that when Big Brother mentioned it, he said that if the blood of both parties turned black after the fusion, it would be a success. Di Beichen frowned and his eyes were filled with hesitation. Maybe I remembered wrongly. Black. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and felt a little disappointed. If it was black, then the color of their blood was obviously not right. Noticing the faint disappointment in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes, Di Beichen smiled. At that time, Big Brother only mentioned it casually, so I didn't remember it clearly. It won't be too late to ask Father when we get back later. What do you think? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. All right. Piercing Wind City. Xiao Yanlong stood in the courtyard with a worried look on his face. Ever since the establishment of the Dark Sacred Assembly and his return, he had been worried about a problem. How was Di Yujue's attitude that day resolved? He was certain that Di Yujue had the intention to kill him. After being friends for so many years, he knew Di Yujue's character very well. He had always been a swift and decisive person. He hadn't made a move before, partly because he had many concerns, and partly because he hadn't made up his mind. When he was in the Dark Sacred Assembly, he clearly felt Di Yujue's killing intent. With his character, it was impossible for him to change his mind after making such a decision. Moreover, when he faced Junhong Cheng, Di Yujue had made it very clear that he would no longer be restricted by the secret key. In that case, Di Yujue would most likely take action very soon. When he thought of this, he couldn't help but panic. Facing the current Di family and the Dark Sacred Assembly, once they launched an attack, they wouldn't be able to stop them at all. After this incident, their former allies had unknowingly distanced themselves from them. Isolated and helpless, this was the true portrayal of their current situation. Just as Xiao Yanlong was thinking, he unexpectedly saw Junhong Cheng. Chapter 61-82. Seeing Junhong Cheng's appearance, Xiao Yanlong already had a rough guess in his heart, but his face still showed a surprised expression. Junhong Cheng's mood was also very complicated. Ever since Bailey Hongzhuang told him the news that day, he carefully calculated the time and asked some cultivators who had some understanding of this matter, but the results he got made him very suspicious. However, he didn't have the time to measure all of this now. At this critical moment of the Jun family's life and death, he only thought about how to get the family through this difficult time. Brother Xiao, I think you understand the current situation very well. Di Yujue is probably already preparing to take action. Junhong Cheng didn't say anything else but went straight to the point. He came here today to ask for Xiao Yanlong's help. Ever since the incident with the Dark Sacred Assembly, he knew that this time it was really dangerous. If he couldn't find a way to get through this difficult time, perhaps the Jun family would really cease to exist in the future. He had never thought of this kind of result, and when this scene really happened in front of him, he also felt that it was very difficult to accept. Almost immediately, he had been looking for allies everywhere, but at this moment, those families who had a good relationship with him all pretended that they weren't familiar with him. Even if he proposed a very high reward, the other party's attitude was still resolute, and they weren't willing to relent at all. After repeated attempts, he found that the other party didn't want to take the opportunity to extort him, and his heart was filled with despair. The Di family's rise now made many families fearful, and everyone was worried that they would get into trouble. If their families were implicated because of this matter, that was something that no one wanted to see. On the other hand, it was also because Di Baichen had a good relationship with the young masters of the Jiang family and the Murong family. If he wanted to deal with the Di family, the risk he would have to bear was too great. In a situation where it didn't concern them, there were simply not enough benefits to attract them to do it. After thinking about it, he only had the Xiao family left as an ally. Hearing Junhong Cheng's words, Xiao Yanlong sighed in his heart. I also guessed this point. If the Di family takes action, the Lin family will definitely take action as well. As long as the Dark Sacred Assembly also joins in with our strength, it will be really difficult. I know it's very difficult, but we have no way out. Junhong Cheng's face was serious and dignified. If this battle can't be avoided, we can only use all of our strength. Once our family disappears, the next ones to be dealt with will be you. His gaze was fixated on Xiao Yanlong's body. At this time, the Xiao family definitely could not leave just like that. Once the Xiao family also retreated, they would really be a dead end. Seeing this, Xiao Yanlong also nodded seriously. I understand what you mean. The Di clan is not only targeting you but also me. This time we have no choice but to fight. After hearing Zhao's words, the family, and the family's families. This was rights, this was a blessing, was the family's family. They were grasshoppers on the same rope, so the Xiao family would also go all out. Even if their chances of winning weren't high, at least it wouldn't be too bad. Brother Xiao, thank you. Junhong Cheng's eyes were deep, and there was a flicker of light in them. Chapter 6183. If we use the secret key as our final trump card, will there be a chance for us to survive? Junhong Cheng was a little uncertain. All along they knew how important the secret key was to the Di family. Every time the secret key was mentioned, Di Yujue would be very concerned. However, when Di Yujue said those words that day, the resolute expression on his face did not seem to be fake in the slightest. Speaking of which, we really took a wrong step this time. That's why we've fallen into this situation. Xiao Yanlong sighed. Di Yujue must be concerned about the secret key. It's only because our actions this time almost caused the Di family to be completely wiped out that he made such a decisive decision. Who would have thought that Lei Ming and the others would be so useless? Junhong Cheng's face was full of annoyance. At that time, everything was clearly calculated and the entire plan could be said to be flawless. However, he did not think that the 5 presidents would be so useless. If they had brought more experts with them at that time, things would not have been so bad. Although the skeleton is very scary, as long as we had stopped Di Baichen's actions before, so many things would not have happened later. Failed at the last step. Junhong Cheng could not help but regret the moment he thought of the situation that day. If he had known that this would be the result, he would never have done that. No matter what, we'll think of another way when the time comes. If the secret key can be exchanged for a chance of survival, that would be the best. Xiao Yanlong's expression was complicated. Faintly, he felt that the possibility of Di Yujue agreeing was very small. However, the land of heritage was still very important to the Di family. Until that moment, no one would know what the result would be. Junhong Cheng nodded slightly. This was the only thing they could do now. After Xiao Yanlong promised to lead the family's disciples to the Jun family tomorrow, Junhong Cheng was completely relieved. In this kind of isolated and helpless situation, as long as they were not fighting alone, at least they would have more confidence. After seeing Junhong Cheng leave, Xiao Sudong walked to Xiao Yanlong's side. Father, should I inform the elders to make preparations? Xiao Sudong's expression was complicated. In just a few days he felt that his thoughts were completely different from before. This was because he realized that the family that he had always felt was incomparably strong could now disappear at any time. This feeling made him feel very panicked. Ever since he was a child, he had never thought that something like this would happen to him. Now, as the distance between him and Di Baichen got closer and closer, he realized that the gap between him and Di Baichen was so big. Whether it was Di Baichen, Bailey Hongzhuang, or his sister, they were all much more than he was. When they encountered such a situation, they would at least have their own opinions. But now his mind was blank. He did not know what he could do for the family's sakes. The only thing he could do was to listen to his father's orders and do what he could. Xiao Yanlong shook his head. Sudong, I have a mission for you. Chapter 6184. How can I take everyone away at this time? Xiao Sudong found it hard to believe. Although he knew very well that he couldn't do anything for the Xiao family with his current strength, he had already thought about it. If all of this was destined to come, then he would persevere until the end. Even if he had to pay with his life, as long as he was with everyone, he would not be afraid. However, wasn't what his father wanted him to do now? Xiao Yanlong looked at Xiao Sudong seriously and said, Sudong, you are my only son and also the young master of the Xiao family. Perhaps after this time the Xiao family will be completely removed from the upper realm, but as long as you are still here and some of the young cultivators of our family are still here, at least the bloodline of our Xiao family still exists in this world. No, I can't agree. Xiao Sudong shook his head. I want to live and die with you. Looking at the determined Xiao Sudong, the corners of Xiao Yanlong's lips slowly raised into a smile. I know I have never misjudged you. Ever since Sou's talent in the light attribute was discovered, I have been focusing on her cultivation. You are obviously my son, but you have never complained about what I have done. Until now you still have the heart of a pure child. Xiao Yanlong was somewhat gratified. In the past he had always felt that Sudong was not capable and could not be independent. Now it seemed that such simple emotions were more difficult for everyone to achieve. Father, I have never minded these things. Xiao Sudong's face was calm. Sister's talent is indeed more outstanding than mine. As long as the family can be good, I don't care about these things at all. Yes, if only I could have understood these things earlier. Xiao Yanlong sighed. If he could have listened to Sudong's thoughts earlier, perhaps they would not have reached this point. Unfortunately, the situation had already become like this, and he did not know if there was still a chance to change it. There was no point in regretting it. Father, I don't want to leave. Sister needs to be protected the most now. Let sister take everyone away. Xiao Sudong said. Your sister will leave. She is pregnant and the Jun family will not let her stay here. Then isn't it fine? Let sister take everyone away. I want to stay here. Xiao Sudong said seriously. No. Xiao Yanlong's voice was resolute. You must leave. There is no doubt about this. Father? If you don't leave from today onwards, you and I are no longer father and son. Xiao Yanlong's voice was cold and stern. His eyes turned red, revealing anger and pain that he was enduring. Looking at Xiao Yanlong like this, Xiao Sudong's eyes gradually became moist. How could he not understand that his father was doing this for him to survive? But this kind of life was not what he wanted. Sudong, for the entire family, the most important thing is to leave behind the bloodline. It was because he had done something wrong that he brought disaster to his family. As my son, you have an obligation to help me make up for this mistake. Hearing this, Xiao Sudong looked at Xiao Yanlong in a daze. Such words indeed made it impossible for him to refute. After a short while, Xiao Sudong nodded, and his voice was filled with reluctance and forbearance. Father, I'll definitely bring everyone out safely. Chapter 6185. If the Xiao family has the chance to escape this disaster, you can come back. Xiao Yanlong's lips curled into a smile. It was clearly a smile, but Xiao Sudong felt unusually bitter. After settling everything, Xiao Yanlong did not tell anyone and quietly left the family. The D family. When Di Yujue heard the news from the cultivators, his expression became very complicated. Yujue, Patriarch Xiao came to look for you at this time. Could it be that they've already noticed our movements? Lin Yunqing's eyes were filled with thoughts. They had been very careful with their movements this time and hoped that they would not alert the enemy. However, they knew very well that with so many cultivators heading there, it would naturally be a big commotion. It would be very difficult for them not to be noticed. Di Yujue looked out of the house with deep eyes. He looked like he was in a daze. No one knew what he was thinking. He should have guessed my movements long ago. The reason why he came here today is probably to negotiate with me. Di Yujue slowly said. Do you plan to meet him? Lin Yunqing sized up Di Yujue's expression. She knew her husband very well. Usually, as long as it was Di Yujue who made a decision, he would never change it. No matter what Xiao Yanlong said today, it would be useless. Meet him? Why not? Di Yujue chuckled, but there was no smile in his eyes. Since he dares to come here alone, how can I let him come here for nothing? Lin Yunqing did not say anything else when she saw Di Yujue's strange expression. She clearly remembered the scene of Di Yujue and Xiao Yanlong drinking and chatting happily a few years ago. However, no one expected that in just a few years, the relationship between the two parties had deteriorated to such an extent. Now that she recalled the scenes from back then, it felt like a lifetime had passed. Soon Xiao Yanlong's figure appeared in the D family. When the cultivators of the D family saw him, they could not help but feel puzzled. Patriarch Xiao? Why is he here today? They might be here to beg for mercy. With the strength of the Xiao clan, they are no match for us. It's useless to beg for mercy now. After doing so many terrible things, It would be too easy if he could be let off just by begging for mercy. Facing Xiao Yanlong, no one had a good expression. Bailey Hongzhuang and Mu Lingbing were passing by. When they noticed Xiao Yanlong's appearance, their expressions changed slightly. Hongzhuang? Isn't that the head of the Xiao family? Mu Lingbing was surprised. According to their plan, they were going to attack the Jun family in 2 days. According to their judgment, the Xiao clan would definitely help when the time came. Therefore, when the time came for them to take action, the two families would have to deal with them together. For Xiao Yanlong to appear here at such a sensitive time, his intentions were indeed worthy of consideration. Xiao Yanlong should also be very clear that once he fights with our clan, he will definitely lose, so he wants to seek peace. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. She understood the tricks of these people very well. Doesn't that mean that he betrayed the Jun family? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. In a life and death situation like this, it's normal for him to make such a decision. Chapter 6186. Noticing Mu Lingbing's expression, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled softly. Her mother had never been a scheming person. Sometimes it was hard to change one's nature. Even after experiencing so much pain, Mu Lingbing had always maintained her perseverance. If the head of the D family agrees to Xiao Yanlong's request for peace, then we only need to deal with the Jun family when we fight. If we use this method of taking them down one by one, won't we win faster? Mu Lingbing raised an eyebrow. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Mother, it's rare for you to come up with such an idea. Hearing this, Mu Lingbing was a little embarrassed. I've been listening to the fights between the mixed martial arts families, and I feel that it's impossible not to use some brains. It wasn't easy being the head of the family. Pulling one hair could affect the whole family. Once a wrong decision was made, it could affect the entire family. Actually, this is a good idea. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Although the Xiao family and the Jun family had always been in an alliance, she knew that this so-called alliance wasn't solid enough. Both of them were selfish people who had always been thinking for their own interests. As long as there was a better way out, they would abandon the other without hesitation. Therefore, if they wanted to take them down one by one, it would be very simple. But I don't think Father will agree. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Why? Because Father is fundamentally different from them. Inside the room, Diyu Jue looked at Xiao Yanlong outside the door, his expression calm. He spread his hands casually. Sit, this is your favorite chrysanthemum tea. A simple and ordinary sentence touched Xiao Yanlong's complicated heart. He still remembered that every time he came, Diyu Jue would always prepare his favorite tea. It was the same scene, but the situation was completely different. Xiao Yanlong didn't say anything. He quietly walked to the chair next to Diyu Jue and picked up the tea with familiarity. After taking a sip, his expression relaxed. It's still the same taste as before. With just one sentence, the two of them had different feelings in their hearts. I didn't expect you to come to me at this time, Diyu Jue said slowly. Actually, I didn't want to come either. Xiao Yanlong chuckled, the curve of his lips revealing a hint of ridicule. But when the family's life and death is at stake, I have no choice but to come. We've known each other for so long. You should know my personality very well. You should also know that my decision will not change. Diyu Jue faintly glanced at Xiao Yanlong. After being friends for so many years, they still had this bit of tacit understanding. I know. Xiao Yanlong nodded and slowly put the tea aside. However, I still want to give it a try. In the next moment, Xiao Yanlong turned his head and looked seriously at Diyu Jue, saying, Brother Di, we have been friends for so many years. For so many years we have always supported each other. I know that I have done many wrong things in the past few years. I only hope that you can remember our old friendship and let us live. Diyu Jue looked at the urgency on Xiao Yanlong's face and suddenly said, Actually, I also didn't expect that we would end up like this. Our two families have been friends for many years. For so many years we have always helped and supported each other. Chapter 6187. Xiao Yanlong's expression was serious. During this period of time, I will find a way to make up for the losses caused to the D family. Make up for it? Diyu Jue chuckled. Things have already happened, there's no use in trying to make up for it. Back then, when Beichen broke off the engagement, I also said that I would find a way to make it up to you, but you refused without hesitation, didn't you? His deep eyes were filled with dark clouds. After being brothers for decades, he never thought that there would be a day when they would meet on the battlefield. However, the one who made this decision in the first place was Xiao Yanlong. Xiao Yanlong's voice faltered as he recalled Di Yujua's apologetic expression. Compared to what the Xiao family had done, the Di family's breaking off of the engagement was nothing. Xiao Yanlong opened his mouth, his face a little pale. I know that I was wrong. In fact, I've been regretting it since a long time ago. However, there's no medicine for regret in this world, and I have no way to change all of this. I can only continue to make mistakes step by step until I've made a terrible mistake in the end. Brother D, on account of our many years of friendship, can you be magnanimous and let us go? I promise that I'll never do anything to harm the D family in the future, never. Xiao Yanlong's face was serious. He did not tell anyone today and had come here alone. No matter what request Di Yujua made, he would find a way to satisfy all of it as long as they could live. Di Yujua looked calmly at Xiao Yanlong's solemn vow and suddenly said, I'm very sorry that the relationship between our families has become like this, but I can no longer trust you. From the moment you stabbed Beichen and the others, there was no room for negotiation between our two families. He clearly remembered the scene of Junhong Cheng and Xiao Yanlong trying to kill Beichen and the others that day. If it were not for the fact that these two children had amazing abilities, they might have lost their lives at that time. Xiao Yanlong's expression shook. Thinking about it carefully, he also felt very ashamed. Brother D, I can guarantee that such a thing will never happen again. I can guarantee it with my life. Xiao Yanlong's expression was serious. No matter what you need me to do, I can do it. In fact, your family's biggest enemy over the years has been the Jun family. As long as the Jun family disappears, everything will be resolved. As for what I have done, I will think of a way to make up for it. I will definitely not be your enemy in the future. I can give you all the things in our clan's resource room. Other than that, you can state any conditions you want. I can even give up my position as the Xiao clan's patriarch as long as you let us live. Xiao Yanlong nervously looked at Di Yujua. He was already at the end of his rope. If Di Yujua did not agree, he was not optimistic about the upcoming battle. He had even thought of disbanding the family and letting everyone escape. However, the family had its dignity. Once he did that, the entire Xiao clan would become a complete joke. Unless they lived in seclusion forever and no longer used the surname Xiao, even if the Xiao clan really had the chance to rise in the future, they would not be able to establish themselves in the upper realm. How could he let all the fame that the Xiao clan had built up over the years be ruined just like that? Looking at the anxious Xiao Yanlong, Di Yujua sighed in his heart. Chapter 6188. Perhaps it was because he had been with Junhong Cheng for a long time, so he didn't even feel the slightest bit ashamed to say such shameless things. There's no need to say any more. I've already decided on this matter. Brother D. Di Yujue raised his hand and stopped Xiao Yanlong's words. Don't call me that. We're no longer brothers. If you really cared about our family's many years of friendship, you wouldn't have attacked Beichen. If the Dark Sacred Assembly hadn't been established successfully this time, you and Junhong Cheng would have crushed my entire family without hesitation. Do you think you would hesitate? Di Yujue stared at Xiao Yanlong. Before the latter could speak, his voice had already sounded. No, you definitely wouldn't. It's not that I haven't given you a chance. Don't you know that begging for mercy when you're at the end of your rope is the most meaningless? Don't say such useless words. It will only make me look down on you even more. Di Yujua's eyes were cold, and his resolute and fierce appearance no longer had the slightest bit of brotherly love from the past. No matter who it was, as long as they touched his reverse scale, they would die. He wouldn't let his family fall into a dangerous situation because of a plea. If it weren't for the fact that he wasn't decisive enough when dealing with the Jun family, there wouldn't have been so many twists and turns later. Xiao Yanlong stood in place in a daze. He didn't expect that he would get such an answer after throwing away his self-esteem to beg for mercy. A thick sense of humiliation began to linger in his heart. Di Yujua's every word pierced deeply into his heart. Okay, since you've made up your mind, then we can only meet on the battlefield. Xiao Yanlong nodded and put away his previous begging appearance. His expression once again returned to its usual deep state. Between us, there's only meeting on the battlefield. Today I won't kill you. The next time we meet, you'll die by my hands. Di Yujua stared at Xiao Yanlong, and the scene of them meeting for the first time when they were young flashed in his mind. Now, it really felt like a lifetime ago. Xiao Yanlong's body trembled, and his leaving footsteps paused slightly. Then he took another step and firmly left. The 3-day agreement arrived in the blink of an eye. During these 3 days, the cultivators of the Di family, the Lin family, and the Dark Sacred Congregation were all rushing to the Jun family's residence. It was only on the last day that Di Baichen and the others left with Di Yujue and the others. Baichen, I heard that the cultivators of the Jun family seem to have realized what was going to happen. That's why the Xiao family has been sending cultivators to meet up with them. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. The cultivators of the Dark Sacred Assembly were all over the upper realm. Now they were very well informed. Di Baichen nodded slightly. Xiao Yanlong came to see father first. Although I don't know what they talked about, Xiao Yanlong should have already known about this at that time. So today's battle will be an all-out attack from both sides. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed faintly. She had never been to the Jun family before. She didn't expect to see such a scene on her first visit. Today rivers of blood were destined to flow. The eyes of everyone present shone with a dazzling light. After so many years of enduring, they were finally going to have a good fight. In order to remove the Jun family from the upper realm, they had been preparing for too long. After the Bailey family learned about this situation, they also came. Chapter 6189. Jun Family. Jun Hongqing stood at the back of the mountain. A gentle breeze blew, lifting up a corner of his clothes. Xiao Yanlong stood beside him, and both of their faces were indescribably dignified. If I'm not wrong, they should start taking action today, Jun Hongqing slowly said. Since he became the head of the family, he had always hoped that one day he would be able to kill the Di family, but he didn't expect that this scene would actually happen to him. It wasn't the Di family that was facing extermination, but them. Xiao Yanlong's expression was complicated. Ever since he talked with Di Yujue, his mood became even more complicated. They had to fight with their backs to the wall. They had no way out. If they couldn't withstand it today, the two families would be completely finished. Let's go down, everyone is waiting for us. Jun Hongqing nodded slightly. Say Wu and the others have safely left, right? Don't worry, I have already arranged for them to leave. The place they found is very hidden. As long as they live in anonymity, they shouldn't be discovered. Xiao Yanlong's expression had a trace of gentleness. As long as Su Dong and the others were safe and sound, it could be considered as settling one of their worries. After Di Baichen and the others arrived, the cultivators who had arrived earlier rushed out and joined the team. In the blink of an eye, the team continued to expand, and finally, the momentum of an army was monstrous. After the cultivators of Junyang City saw the Di family and the Lin family's teams gather, their faces were filled with fear. I said that there were too many cultivators here in the past 2 days. I didn't understand at first, but now it seems that the Di family is preparing to attack the Jun family. A cultivator couldn't help but exclaim. The hatred between the two families had lasted for too many years, and everyone had almost become accustomed to it. However, no one thought that there would be such a day. My God, then won't a war break out in the Jun family today? Perhaps after today the Jun family will no longer exist? Everyone looked at each other in dismay. This sudden situation was too terrifying. No one had expected such a thing to happen. This unexpected feeling made their hearts tremble. For a moment they didn't know what to do. Some cultivators had already started contacting their families. Based on this situation, they would not rest until one of them was dead. In order to avoid being implicated, it would be safer for them to leave Junyang City as soon as possible. Otherwise, once they were affected by the flames of war between the two families, they wouldn't even have a place to cry. Di Yujue looked at the group of cultivators behind him. His dignified and handsome face was unprecedentedly serious. He stared at the familiar faces in front of him and spoke clearly into everyone's ears. The Jun family has been plotting against us all these years. I don't know how many cultivators have died in their schemes. For the sake of avenging the fallen cultivators, and for the sake of preventing the future descendants of the clan from having to face this kind of trouble, we must completely remove this malignant tumor today. Di Yujue's words were very simple, without any unnecessary embellishments. But it was these simple words that shocked everyone, and the blood in their bodies was instantly ignited. They knew very well how uncomfortable it was to be on guard all these years. As long as they could completely solve this problem, everything would be worth it. Remove this malignant tumor. Destroy the Jun family. Chapter 6190. The teams of the Di family, Lin family, and the Dark Sacred Assembly walked in the direction of the Jun family. The cultivators of the entire Junyang City scattered like birds and beasts, rushing to pass the news. They really came. Hearing the news from his subordinates, Jun Hongqing looked awe-inspiring. There was no emotional fluctuation on his calm face, but everyone knew that the family master was very uncomfortable in his heart. Boom! With a shocking explosion, the Jun family's door was blown open directly. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the destructive power of her bomb, and her eyes showed satisfaction. Ever since she came to the upper realm, she had rarely used explosives. This was because everyone was very strong, and the power of explosives might not be able to achieve good results. However, it was quite suitable to blow up other things. When the surrounding cultivators saw Bailey Hongzhuang taking out the explosives, they were a little puzzled. They didn't understand what she was going to do. Explosives were rare in the upper realm. Except for some low-level people who might use them to build houses, they didn't use them at all, because the power of explosives was too small for them. However, when everyone saw that Bailey Hongzhuang threw an explosive and blew up the Jun family's door directly, their eyes showed surprise. This explosive seems to be a little different from the explosives in their impression? Sure enough, everything that second cousin-in-law takes out is different. Linny was very calm. She felt that a lot of common sense was useless on Bailey Hongzhuang because the things in their impression were always different from the things that Hongzhuang took out. Diyu Jue's eyes also lit up after noticing the power of this explosive. Although this power was not enough for them now, it was still useful for cultivators with slightly lower cultivation. If they brought a few of these explosives when they went out for training, wouldn't it be a talisman? Not only Diyu Jue, but Di Lin Xian and Lin Wenlan also had the same idea in their minds. When they returned, they had to bring up this idea. After all, these young cultivators were the future mainstays of the family. After the door was blown open, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could clearly see the Jun family's appearance. The structure of the Jun family was very similar to that of the Di family. In fact, the structure of the Jun family was very similar to that of the Di family. It was only due to the different preferences of the families that the styles differed. However, after everyone blew the door open, they found that the cultivators from the Jun family and the Xiao family were all holding weapons in their hands ready to fight. Clearly, the other party already knew of their actions and was prepared to fight to the death. The atmosphere instantly became tense. Both teams stared at each other without blinking. Killing intent surged between the two sides. Everyone only had one thought in their hearts, and that was to kill each other. Junhong Cheng and Xiao Yanlong's figures flashed and appeared in front of the group. Their gazes landed on Diyu Jue and the others. "We meet again." Diyu Jue sneered at the corner of his lips, looking at the two with ridicule. Junhong Cheng stared at Diyu Jue and the team behind him. His face was gloomy and dignified. "I didn't expect, we are really going to fight." Chapter 6191. Junhong Cheng looked at the calm Diyu Jue, his heart filled with mixed feelings. He had been looking forward to the day when the two sides would meet on the battlefield. He wanted to make a comeback and free himself from the relationship between the three great families that had always been suppressed. He wanted to surpass the Di family and become the family with the most authority. However, he never thought that the Di family would attack them in the end. What he didn't expect was that even after he roped in the Xiao family, they were still at an absolute disadvantage. "Diyu Jue, as long as you don't fight today, I can guarantee that I will never be your enemy in the future." After a long while, Junhong Cheng slowly said this sentence. Looking at the cultivators of the family, he couldn't help but feel distressed. He couldn't bear to see them die. Hearing this, Diyu Jue chuckled, his eyes filled with mockery. "Haven't you always done this before? On the surface, you've never been our enemy, but behind our backs, you've always schemed against us. Thanks to you, many terrible things have happened to our family over the years." Junhong Cheng was silent. "I know that what happened before was my fault. Now, I can swear that the Di family will never have any conflicts with the Jun family, whether it's on the surface or in the dark. Don't put on this show. It's useless to me." Diyu Jue didn't give Junhong Cheng any more time to talk. He was tired of hearing these words. Just like what Xiao Yanlong said to him, it was meaningless to him, who had already made up his mind. His cold and resolute voice directly interrupted Junhong Cheng's words. His expression was very ugly, but it couldn't change anything. "Even if I use the secret key in exchange?" Junhong Cheng took out his last trump card. "You should know how important this is to your family." I said I don't care. Diyu Jue's lips curled into a cold smile. "It's because I believed your nonsense that the Di family was almost wiped out. Although the secret key has been passed down for a long time, without you, the Di family would have developed very well." Junhong Cheng's complexion turned ashen. He regretted what he had done on the day the Dark Sacred Assembly was established even more. Diyu Jue's words made him understand that there was no turning back. His gaze gradually became malicious and ruthless. "In that case, let's fight." Junhong Cheng glared at Diyu Jue. Do you really think that the D family is invincible? If we really fight, you will know that we are not easy to deal with. A bone is just a bone. No matter how hard it is to chew, it will be chewed up sooner or later, Diyujua said calmly. Junhong Qing coldly snorted and quietly exchanged glances with Xiao Yanlong. Both of them nodded at the same time. Chase them all out. The battle began at this moment. The elders of the Jun family and the Xiao family came out in full force. The elders of the D family and the Lin family also rushed forward. After the family heads and elders began to fight, a group of cultivators also rushed forward, unwilling to be outdone. They had been waiting for this battle for too long. With so many people's elemental energy surging together, even the elemental energy in the air seemed to be affected. The hatred between the three families had accumulated for too many years. Whether it was the young cultivators or the elders, their killing intent towards each other had never disappeared. Chapter 6192. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure moved and directly rushed into the battle. She also didn't have any good feelings towards these two families. In just a few years she had been schemed against by these two families many times. Now that she had the chance, she naturally wouldn't show mercy. Xiao He and Xiao Bai enlarged their bodies and sent a few cultivators flying with a punch. On the day the Dark Sacred Assembly was established, these guys had thought of ways to slaughter the cultivators of the D family and the Lin family. Every dog has its day. Now it was finally their turn. Ling transformed into a dragon once again. With a sweep of her dragon tail, a large number of cultivators were sent flying as if they had been hit by a heavy blow. Boom, boom, boom. The power of the divine dragon tail whip was completely unleashed. Ling still remembered the grudge from last time. How could she not take revenge this time? Unlike last time, Junhong Qing and the others couldn't deal with them at all. Just dealing with Diyu Jue and the others' attacks was already very difficult. They could only watch helplessly as their own cultivators were massacred. No matter how anxious they were, they couldn't do anything. Xiren, Shengguan Yingying, Mo Yunjue, and Ao Lingxiao were all killing in all directions. What goes around comes around. In this world where the strong preyed on the weak, they could only be crushed if they weren't strong enough. If they didn't have the power to protect themselves, they would have already died. They could only leave the upper realm and head to the immortal region with peace of mind if these guys completely disappeared from this world. Otherwise, they would have to deal with these poisonous snakes all the time. No one knew when they would be bitten. The momentum was monstrous. The sound of killing filled the sky, mixed with screams and cries of alarm. The Jun family's buildings collapsed one after another. In just a short time, the Jun family's buildings near the battle circle had become a pile of ruins. The thick smell of blood spread in the air. The ground was gradually dyed red with blood. Everyone's body was stained with blood. They couldn't tell if it was their opponents or their own blood. However, the burning determination in everyone's eyes never changed. Di Beichen did not immediately join the battle. Instead, he began to summon skeletons again. When he first summoned it, he wasn't too familiar with it. After using it twice, he realized that he had become more familiar with it. Thinking about it, the more he used it in the future, the faster his summoning speed would become. Most importantly, with the help of these skeletons, the clan's casualties would be greatly reduced. Every single person was extremely precious to them. Although it was inevitable that some would fall in battle, it was also good to minimize the casualties. Huang Futing led a group of dark cultivators into the battle as well. These cultivators wanted to avenge the cultivators who died that day. Junhong Cheng's heart tightened when he saw Di Beichen summoning the skeleton army again. In fact, this was what he was most worried about. In the next moment he rushed directly towards Di Beichen. As long as the skeleton army could not be summoned, everything was still possible. After seeing Junhong Cheng's actions, Diyu Jue's figure flashed and directly blocked the latter's path. Junhong Cheng, with me here you can't get close to Beichen. Junhong Cheng's face was gloomy. I'm going to kill you? Unfortunately, you still don't have the strength. Diyu Jue's eyes were full of disdain. If President Liu hadn't appeared that day, you would have died at my hands. Chapter 6193. Diyu Jue's figure flashed. His movements were as fast as lightning, and a terrifying attack directly attacked Junhong Cheng. Bang! Their fists collided and both of them retreated 100 meters. The tyrannical energy burst out and the buildings on the side collapsed. Junhong Cheng's expression was extremely ugly. He knew very well that if they really fought, he was indeed no match for Diyu Jue. It was indeed too difficult for him to bypass Di Yujue and stop Di Beichen. Looking around, the cultivators of the Jun and Xiao family were almost all entangled with their opponents. Although each had their own advantages and disadvantages, it was obviously extremely difficult for them to clone themselves. Damn it! Jun Hongqing cursed inwardly. Even though he was depressed to the extreme, he was powerless to change all of this. With his mind in chaos, Jun Hongqing's combat strength was also affected. Di Yujue's attack landed fiercely on Jun Hongqing's weak spot. Bang! A heavy blow landed on Jun Hongqing's body. Jun Hongqing's figure was quickly sent flying. He stabilized his body in midair and stopped. However, from his flushed face, one could tell that this attack had made him very uncomfortable. After seeing that Jun Hongqing was injured, Xiao Yanlong also took advantage of the situation and rushed to Jun Hongqing's side. "How are you?" They absolutely could not fall now. Once the family head fell, their morale would be greatly affected, and they would be defeated in a short period of time. Even if today's ending could not be changed, at least they could not let the Di family and Lin family have an easy time. Jun Hongqing shook his head. "I'm fine. You must hold on." Xiao Yanlong's tone was unprecedentedly serious. "I understand," Jun Hongqing replied. His gaze quietly turned around and he transmitted his voice. "We can't continue like this. We have to think of a way. Otherwise, failure is only a matter of time." Xiao Yanlong's face darkened. "I know the current situation, but other than that, we have no other way. As long as we capture an important person and threaten them, we might be able to change everything." Jun Hongqing narrowed his eyes. The Di family was indeed united. It was a good thing that they valued loyalty, but in a way it was also a fatal weakness. As long as they could capture an important person, they could take the opportunity to blackmail the other party. Even if they couldn't change the ending, they could at least restrain the Di family. As Jun Hongqing's voice fell, Xiao Yanlong also understood what he meant. With a thought, he had already thought of their goal. Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang's position in Di Beichen's heart was very important. After all the things that had happened during this period of time, they were well aware of it. Most importantly, once Bailey Hongzhuang was captured, Di Beichen would definitely be distracted, and he might not be able to summon these skeletons again. Killing two birds with one stone, this was definitely an excellent opportunity. The two of them had the same idea, and both of them had locked their target on Bailey Hongzhuang. Di Yujue did not expect the two of them to have come up with a plan in such a short time. However, he did not give the two of them any more time to communicate, and his figure charged forward once again. To catch bandits, first catch the ringleader. As long as these two fellows were subdued, the remaining cultivators from the two families would be nothing more than a bunch of loose sand. They would not be able to do anything at all. Chapter 6194. After Jun Hongqing and Xiao Yanlong had made their decision, they no longer hesitated. They were still at a disadvantage in the current situation. After all, the other party had more people than them. If they could seize the opportunity to control Bailey Hongzhuang and grab hold of the other party's weakness, there was still a possibility of turning the tables. After Lin Wenlan had closed the distance between them, he immediately attacked. Xiao Yanlong continued to dodge and quickly widened the distance between the two of them. He was unwilling to face him head-on. "Damn it, this fellow is like a loach. He's too hard to catch." Lin Wenlan cursed silently. He had wanted to subdue Xiao Yanlong as soon as possible so that he could get twice the result with half the effort. He never thought that it would be so troublesome. Xiao Yanlong tried his best to shake Lin Wenlan off by a certain distance before his figure flashed and charged directly towards Bailey Hongzhuang's direction. The sudden turn of events had exceeded everyone's expectations. Jun Hongqing had also charged out at the same time. Clearly, the two of them had made up their minds to capture Bailey Hongzhuang. "Hongzhuang, watch out," Di Yujue hurriedly reminded her when he saw this. He had already increased his speed to the maximum, but he was still unable to catch up. Hearing Di Yujue's cry, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes shifted slightly. She then noticed that Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongqing were charging towards her from two different directions. Most importantly, the two masters' cultivation levels were higher than hers. They had used their auras to lock onto her as they charged towards her. Under such circumstances, it was very difficult for her to even move her body. It would be too difficult for her to take advantage of the situation and escape. Di Yujue and the rest explained as their hearts sank. Bailey Hongzhuang was too important to them. Once Bailey Hongzhuang was under their control, they could guess what kind of conditions Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongqing would propose. That kind of situation would be terrible. As they got closer and closer to Bailey Hongzhuang, the smile in Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongcheng's eyes continued to widen. As long as they seized this opportunity, they could use it to threaten Diyu Jue and even Di Beichen. With Di Beichen's feelings for Bailey Hongzhuang, it was not impossible for him to make such a decision. Bailey Yanxie and the rest rushed over immediately, but they were too late to make it in time. In the next moment, Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongcheng arrived at Bailey Hongzhuang's location almost at the same time. Bang! Jun Hongcheng directly attacked Bailey Hongzhuang. However, just as Jun Hongcheng was about to throw his punch, he suddenly realized that his fist seemed to have landed on thin air. He had not hit Bailey Hongzhuang at all. The feeling of landing a punch on thin air was very uncomfortable. However, Jun Hongcheng was not in the mood to think about all this at this moment. He was more curious about where Bailey Hongzhuang had gone. Xiao Yanlong was equally shocked. Bailey Hongzhuang had clearly been here just a second ago and he had locked onto Bailey Hongzhuang's aura. However, in that short moment, he realized that Bailey Hongzhuang's aura had disappeared. How could this be? Diyu Jue and Lin Wenlan's faces were filled with astonishment as well. At that moment, they had even thought about how they would deal with the situation once Bailey Hongzhuang had been captured. However, she had actually disappeared into thin air. Chapter 6195. Just as Jun Hongcheng was in a daze, Diyu Jue's figure followed closely behind him. Bang! A ferocious attack flew fiercely towards Jun Hongcheng. Diyu Jue was no longer careless and would not give Jun Hongcheng any chance to escape. Bang bang bang! Their attacks were as fast as lightning. Many cultivators around them were sent flying by the impact of their attacks. Even the cultivators who were fighting did not dare to stay on the spot when they saw this scene. Their figures flashed and they quickly left. Lin Wenlan's movements were not slow either. Just as Diyu Jue and Lin Wenlan arrived, Bailey Hongzhuang's figure once again appeared before everyone's eyes. What's going on? Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's sudden appearance, the cultivators from the four great families' eyes were filled with confusion. Regardless of whether it was her disappearance earlier or her reappearance now, they could not understand how Bailey Hongzhuang had managed to do it. Bailey Hongzhuang heaved a sigh of relief. It was a good thing that her reaction was fast enough. When she realized that her aura had been locked onto and she was unable to move, she immediately entered the chaos ring with a single thought. Her aura had been locked onto and her body was indeed unable to move. However, her mental energy was not too affected so she could still enter the chaos ring with ease. She only needed this short amount of time to do everything. With a single movement, Bailey Hongzhuang retreated from the master's battle circle. Jun Hongcheng and Xiao Yanlong watched Bailey Hongzhuang's departing figure. Their hearts were filled with vexation and helplessness at the same time. This Bailey Hongzhuang really could not be judged using common sense. The battle between the two sides continued. After this incident, the battle between the two sides became even more intense. In the distance, some cultivators from Junyang City quietly observed the battle. After seeing the scene of blood flowing like a river, everyone's hearts were filled with endless emotions. A family that had stood tall in the upper realm for so many years was now facing a disaster. The world was unpredictable and no one could predict the outcome. Hongzhuang, are you all right? Di Beichen's figure flashed and he came to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. A smile appeared on Bailey Hongzhuang's face. I'm fine. You've succeeded in summoning? Yes. Di Beichen nodded. As the number of summons increased, my summoning speed gradually increased. Practice makes perfect. Now everyone can relax a little. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved slightly. The skeleton army's battle prowess couldn't be underestimated. Although the skeleton's army, the battles, they had already had the upper hand. Now the appearance of the skeleton army, the battle's end. Tap tap tap. The skeleton army's speed was very fast. Not long after Di Beichen's successful summoning, they had already appeared in a grandiose manner. Seeing the appearance of the skeleton army, the faces of Jun Hongcheng and the others turned extremely ugly. Even though this scene was within their expectations, they still felt an indescribable pain when it appeared. This was because these skeletons were very lethal. Boom! With a collision of energy, Jun Hongcheng's figure was directly sent flying. He crashed heavily on the ground, creating a huge crater. Chapter 6196. Cough cough, Jun Hongcheng fell into the deep pit. The sharp pain in his body and the blood that seeped out of his mouth made him cough uncontrollably. He coughed up blood clots. Up until now, although he had attacked Diyu Jue, the latter's strength was stronger than his, and his injuries were much more serious. Junhong Cheng, go to hell. Diyu Jue's eyes were extremely cold, and a murderous intent spread from his heart. After waiting for so long, this day had finally come. He would definitely not show mercy. Seeing Diyu Jue's fist rapidly approaching, Junhong Cheng's pupils shrank, and he subconsciously prepared to run away. However, right at the instant that he fled, Diyu Jue's fist struck out once more, and it directly blasted Junhong Cheng's figure out of the deep pit. After being hit by Diyu Jue's all-out attack again, Junhong Cheng spat out a mouthful of blood. His face instantly turned pale and his aura quickly withered. Family head. The cultivators of the Jun family exclaimed when they saw that Junhong Cheng was injured, and their eyes were full of anxiety. Diyu Jue, Junhong Cheng looked at Diyu Jue, who was walking toward him step by step, and his face was full of horror. However, Diyu Jue's expression was extremely cold, and he did not pay attention to him at all. The fist came again and Junhong Cheng quickly moved backward, but this speed was useless. Bang! A tyrannical force burst out. Junhong Cheng closed his eyes. He knew that he could not escape, but the expected pain did not appear. He opened his eyes and found that the Great Elder was in front of him. Great Elder! Junhong Cheng's pupils shrank, and he looked at Jun Xianxiao nervously. Jun Xianxiao stood in front of Junhong Cheng at the last moment. He was so anxious that he didn't have time to defend himself. He could only take the blow head-on. Family head, it's my fault? Jun Xuanxiao's eyes were red, and he looked at Junhong Cheng apologetically. He was the one who made many mistakes in the past. If he had not been so narrow-minded, many things would not have developed to this point. Junhong Cheng's eyes were also red. In the entire family, the Great Elder was the one who had the best relationship with him. He never thought that one day they would fall into such a situation. Diyu Jue looked at the two people in front of him, but there was no sympathy in his eyes. These two heinous sinners should have died long ago. Chi. A sharp sword directly into Jun Xuanxiao's body. Jun Xuanxiao's body twitched, and his face showed extreme pain. However, he soon lost consciousness. Jun Xianxiao is dead. You're next. Diyu Jue looked at Junhong Cheng, his eyes as cold as ice. Junhong Cheng stared at Diyu Jue, his eyes full of unwillingness. Diyu Jue, I admit that I have lost this time. However, a temporary victory does not mean that it will last forever. As long as the bloodline of the Jun family still exists in this world, sooner or later, the entire D family will be destroyed. Hearing this, Diyu Jue chuckled. I know that you have already sent people to take some of the young cultivators of the family away. However, do you think that I don't know about these arrangements? As soon as he said this, Junhong Cheng was slightly stunned. His calm face suddenly changed. What did you do to them? Chapter 6197. As Diyu Jue's voice fell, Junhong Cheng's face instantly turned pale. It was as if someone had taken away his last life-saving straw. He lost his mental support and became helpless and desperate. You found them? Junhong Cheng couldn't believe it. He didn't want to believe it. After sensing that such a dangerous situation would happen, he had already planned to let some cultivators with potential leave. Even if the Jun family was finished, as long as the bloodline was still there, they might be able to recover after many years. This kind of thing had happened in the upper realm before. However, he didn't expect that Diyu Jue would be able to find them. I've been fighting with you for so many years. If I didn't have some understanding of your tricks, then I'd be too stupid. Diyu Jue chuckled and said. From the moment he decided to deal with the Jun family, he had the idea of catching them all in one fell swoop. How could he let the Jun family keep any cultivators with potential? Just like how Junhong Cheng worked hard to prepare for all of this, he also worked hard to make plans for the D family. Junhong Cheng stared at Diyu Jue in a daze. He was surrounded by a thick sense of despair. He had become the sinner of the Jun family. How was he going to face the ancestors of the Jun family in the underworld now? If you kill me, you'll never find the secret inheritance key. I don't need it anymore. Diyu Jue's expression was indifferent. The sharp sword in his hand suddenly pierced out. The sharp sword pierced Junhong Cheng's heart. Without showing any mercy, Diyu Jue increased the strength in his hand and directly pierced Junhong Cheng's body. With this sword, he was avenging Beichen and the many cultivators of the D family who had fallen. From today onwards, the Jun family would be completely removed from the upper realm. Family head. The moment they saw Junhong Cheng fall, all the cultivators of the Jun family shouted at the top of their lungs with red eyes. The head of the family had always been the pillar of the family. Now that this pillar had collapsed, the entire Jun family would no longer exist. When Xiao Yanlong saw Jun Hongqing fall, a trace of sorrow appeared in his eyes. This scene still happened in the end, and it happened in such a way that it made people feel so uncomfortable. Compared to the pain of the Jun family's cultivators, the cultivators of the D family and the Lin family were cheering, their faces full of excitement. Kill. Charge. The D family's morale was high. Their skeleton army acted as the vanguard, killing anyone who stood in their way. No one could stop them. With the death of Jun Hongqing and Jun Xianxiao, Di Linxian had no more opponents. With his strength, it was easy for him to deal with ordinary cultivators. Within a short period of time, the cultivators of the Jun family and the Xiao family were utterly defeated. That day was soaked in blood. The entire Jun family was in a terrible situation and blood flowed like a river. The tragic atmosphere spread. Two great families with infinite glory declined just like that, and were completely removed from the upper realm. From now on, everyone would only remember that there had been two great families like this, but they had completely disappeared overnight. Diu Jue was also very tolerant of the cultivators who came to participate in the battle. As a reward, all the cultivators who found treasures would belong to them. These treasures were their spoils of war. All the cultivators couldn't help but cheer when they heard this. As a great family, the Jun family was extremely rich in both cultivation resources and wealth. Chapter 6198. Not only the cultivators from the D family and Lin family, but many cultivators from the Dark Sanctuary were also in the same situation. The group of dark cultivators were initially a little embarrassed, but after seeing Di Baichen nod his head in agreement, everyone's face was filled with joy. To them, who were mostly grassroots, these cultivation resources were simply too important. After the battle ended, Diu Jue and the rest did not stop. Although the Jun family and the Xiao family's troops had been dealt with, they still needed to make a trip to the Piercing Wind City. Father, I'll go with you. After knowing Diu Jue's plan, Di Baichen immediately followed. After leaving a small group of cultivators to collect the spoils of war in the Jun family, the rest of the cultivators all headed to the Piercing Wind City. That place was also filled with treasures. The cultivators of Yang City watched as Diu Jue and his group left in a grandiose manner. The thick smell of blood mixed with surging killing intent spread out from their bodies. Their cold eyes made people not dare to look at them directly. The Jun family and Xiao family are completely finished this time. From now on they will be removed from the upper realm. The rise of the D clan is simply too fast. Right now there's no one who can stop them. A starving camel is still bigger than a horse. The Jun family has a lot of treasures. I'm really envious just looking at them. What's the use of being envious? We have to wait until the D family's troops have all left before we can go and see if there are any treasures that we have missed. If we run in now we will definitely die. Everyone looked at each other and sighed in their hearts. Now, whoever dared to offend the D family would be seeking their own death. I'm really envious of the dark cultivators now. A cultivator sighed faintly, causing everyone to feel the same way. In the past, the dark cultivators were despised by everyone. But now, with the support of the D family, Di Baichen and Bailey Hongzhuang working together, the dark cultivators' prestige was much higher than other cultivators. Piercing Wind City. When Di Baichen and his entourage arrived, everyone in the Piercing Wind City was instantly attracted to them. There was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. After the cultivators of the Xiao clan poured out, everyone understood what was going to happen. When everyone saw the D family's team appear here, they understood the result. Most importantly, the thick smell of blood wafted in the air. It had already spread from the moment they appeared, and there was no way to hide it. Even though everyone knew that the D family now had the upper hand, they still found it hard to believe that the Xiao family and the Jun family would be wiped out just like that. Is the Xiao family really going to be finished? In my opinion, it's most likely over. In just a few years, the two families have changed so much. The Xiao family. After Bailey Hongzhuang threw out 2 sets of explosives, the door of the Xiao family was directly blown open. The Xiao family only left a small number of cultivators in the family. After hearing the commotion outside the door, the remaining cultivators shuddered as their faces turned pale and ugly. They had been living in torment for the entire day because they could not see the situation in the Jun family. They could only passively wait for the result. This feeling was really devastating. After seeing the D family's team, everyone's heart thumped as they had already expected this cruel reality. Chapter 6199. Following Du Jue's words, the cultivators from the D family immediately charged forward. The remaining cultivators from the Xiao family had panicked when they saw the D family's team appear. Furthermore, the remaining cultivators were not strong cultivators in the first place. All the strong cultivators had already gone to the Jun family's residence. Therefore, under such circumstances, it was too easy for everyone to deal with this. In the blink of an eye, the cultivators had easily dealt with this matter. What was left was for everyone to search for the spoils of war. Bailey Hongzhuang was not in a hurry to search. She did not care about the spoils of war the most. What she cared about was the whereabouts of the secret inheritance key. Beichen, do you think it's possible that the secret inheritance key is still here? Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at Di Beichen. The world was so big, they could not determine where Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongcheng had hidden the secret inheritance key. Perhaps they felt that the most dangerous place was the safest place, so they hid the secret inheritance key in an inconspicuous corner of their respective family. Or perhaps they had decided to make the secret inheritance key disappear, so they threw it in a place that no one would expect. Di Beichen had a thoughtful look on his face. No one can understand the thoughts of these two old foxes, but we can look for it. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Now that Jun Hongcheng and Xiao Yanlong were both dead, no one knew where the secret inheritance key was. Looking for it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. However, they would not give up until they tried. Du Jue looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's serious expressions, and a smile appeared on his face. These two little fellows really did not have any utilitarian thoughts, and had always been thinking for their family. It was really rare. For 3 consecutive days, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen searched around the Xiao family's residence. Bai Li Yanche and the others were also helping to search. Their spiritual energy penetrated the ground, unwilling to let go of any possibility. However, no one gained anything. In my opinion, Xiao Yanlong and the others are so cunning, I'm afraid that they have hidden the secret key very far away. Chengguan Yingying frowned. Although the D family could give up on the land of heritage, they all knew how beneficial it would be to the D family. If he were to give up just like that, he would be somewhat unwilling. These two old fellows are really annoying, but we can't do anything about it. When Xiren sighed. It wasn't just the Xiao family. Many cultivators from the Jun family were also searching. No one was willing to give up. For 7 whole days, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others turned the Xiao residence upside down but still couldn't find the secret key. They could only choose to give up and embark on their return journey. The Piercing Wind City was the place where the headquarters of the Radiant Sacred Assembly was located. It was also the city closest to the Xiao family. This once bustling place gradually became desolate following the fall of the Xiao clan. Many cultivators left one after another, and even some businessmen chose to go to other places. The Piercing Wind City gradually became a dead city. Junyang City was also in the same situation, but this was a story for later. After returning to the D family, the entire family began to celebrate. This time they had achieved a complete victory. Chapter 6200. In the D family's meeting hall. The heads of the D family and the Lin family, as well as the various elders and even the outstanding younger generation, were all gathered here at this moment. The atmosphere was different from the usual. At this moment, the entire meeting hall was filled with laughter. Everyone's expressions were relaxed and they were in a good mood. For so many years, because they were constantly on guard against the other party's tricks, everyone's hearts had always been like a rock hanging in the air. Now that the rock had been put down, their mood was unprecedentedly relaxed. Although we won a great victory this time, we still missed a problem. After everyone's laughter, Du Jue's voice rang out. Hearing this, everyone turned their eyes and looked at Du Jue in confusion. Now, other than not being able to find the secret key to the land of inheritance, what other problem did they miss? The Jun family and the Xiao family both sent out their cultivators with potential at the first moment. Although I had already sent people to stop them at the first moment, and the Jun family's team was indeed destroyed, there were still people from the Xiao family who escaped. Was it Xiao Sou? Xiao Sou's figure instantly appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's mind. This woman had fought with her for so long, but she had to admit that she was also a person with great luck. Du Jue nodded. Not only Xiao Sou but also Xiao Sudong. Everyone frowned slightly. Everyone was disgusted with Xiao Sou from the bottom of their hearts. This woman was a troublemaker. No matter where she was, she could always cause some trouble. If it wasn't for Xiao Sou, their relationship with the Xiao family would not have fallen to such a state. If I'm not wrong, Xiao Sou and Xiao Sudong were most likely taken away by Shuyu, right? Di Linxuan's eyes were deep and no emotions could be seen on his calm face. This time, in order to eliminate the root of the problem, the team they sent out this time was not weak. Under such circumstances, the other party could still escape. Other than Shuyu, there was probably no one else who could do it. That's right, it was done by Shuyu. Di Yujua's eyes turned gloomy. As Xiao Sou's master, it's not strange for Shuyu to take action when Xiao Sou is threatened. However, with Shuyu's protection, it will be very difficult for us to deal with them. Shuyu, the #1 expert of the upper realm. Although the Di family's current strength was not to be underestimated, if they were to face Shuyu directly, they would definitely suffer great losses. Let's not rush into this matter for now. Shuyu only chose to protect Xiao Sou and the others and did not directly fight with us. This proves that he is somewhat wary of us. From another point of view, this is also a sign that he is not willing to be our enemy. If we take the initiative to look for trouble under such circumstances, I'm afraid we'll directly anger him. Di Linxuan's expression was solemn. Although a cultivator's strength was not very useful, when a cultivator's strength reached a certain level, their influence would not be small. As long as Shuyu was willing to join a force, it was likely that the other party would be willing to offend them for the sake of such an expert. Although the Di family and the Lin family had won the battle, they had also suffered great losses. It would take some time for them to recover. I never thought that Shuyu would protect them so much. The great elder sighed. This caused them to feel a trace of regret in their hearts. Based on Xiao Sou's personality, we'll meet again sooner or later. Chapter 6201. Xiao Sou would definitely not remain calm after knowing that her family had fallen into such a situation. Even if she did not have the strength to contend against them, she would not sit still and do nothing. It was only a matter of time before they clashed. When Di Yujue saw that everyone's mood was affected by this matter, he could not help but smile and said, "The reason why I mention this matter is to remind everyone. However, you don't have to take it to heart. Only 2 people from the Xiao family are left. They are not a threat to us." Everyone nodded and a smile appeared on their faces once again. Suddenly Lin Wenlan's gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. His gaze was filled with cordiality and curiosity. "Hongzhuang, I saw that the explosives you used a few days ago were quite powerful. Did you make them yourself?" "That's right. The explosives are indeed very powerful. The explosives I have seen on a daily basis are not as powerful as this." Di Lin Xian also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang curiously. At that time, he wanted to wait until this matter was over before asking Hongzhuang about the explosives. When young cultivators went out to gain experience, their safety was always a concern. However, the price of having a trump card for them was too high. It was impossible to popularize it. If there was a method to make explosives, the cost should not be high. Moreover, everyone could bring a few with them. Who knows, it might be effective. Seeing the 2 family heads asking about this matter at the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly stunned. She immediately smiled and said, "That's right. I made these explosives myself." "I didn't expect you to have some research in this area." Lin Wenlan had an interested look on his face. He realized that Hongzhuang was really involved in many aspects. "Actually, these explosives have always been researched by my master's wife. If grandfather and maternal grandfather are interested, I can ask my master's wife to talk about it." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and said. When Nangong Wu heard everyone mention explosives, she was very interested. One must know that she had always liked to research these things. Later, when Hongzhuang came to Limitless Palace, the 2 of them researched together. However, under Bailey Hongzhuang's research, the power of the explosives became even stronger. Although she had spent most of her time on cultivation after coming to the upper realm, she would still study it from time to time in her free time. She did not expect Hongzhuang to suddenly change the topic to her. "Your teacher's wife?" Lin Wenlan raised her eyebrows and asked in surprise. "That's right." Bailey Hongzhuang stood up and walked to Nangong Wu's side. "My master's wife has always been very interested in the study of explosives. The reason why I dabbled in explosives is because I learned from her." "So it's Miss Nangong?" Di Yujue smiled. Nangong Wu felt a little uneasy when she was suddenly stared at by so many people. Hong Zhuang is more accomplished in this area than I am. Master's wife, you are too modest. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled. She had already vaguely guessed the thoughts of the two family heads. This task was undoubtedly the most suitable one for her. Miss Nangong, we feel that the power of these explosives is not bad. If we can make more of them and give them to the younger cultivators, they will have more protection when they go out to train. I wonder if Miss Nangong can help us with this? Di Linxian asked gently. Chapter 6202. Although this matter came unexpectedly, Nangong Wu, who had a cheerful personality, quickly accepted it after a short period of restraint. Don't worry, leave this matter to me. Nangong Wu was full of smiles. She was most interested in the matter of explosives. In fact, she had been itching to do this for a while, but because she was in the D family, she was too embarrassed to do this research and she didn't have a place to test it. Now that this task was handed over to her, she couldn't be happier. Yulin Feng looked at Nangong Wu's happy appearance, and his eyes were full of love. In the past, when they were in the Limitless Palace, Nangong Wu had always been free to do whatever she wanted. Now, it was very rare for her to be able to cultivate quietly in the D family for so long. Seeing Nangong Wu agree so readily, the smiles of Di Linxian and the others became more and more brilliant. Miss Nangong is really straightforward. Then we'll have to trouble you. Is no trouble, no trouble. Nangong Wu waved her hand. Since I came to the D family, I've always been indebted to you for taking care of me. I can't do much, so I'm very happy to be able to help out a little. By the way, other than these explosives, I made a little toy myself. Maybe it will be helpful to the cultivators in our family. At this time, Di Beichen's magnetic and pleasant voice sounded. Hearing this voice, everyone turned their heads and looked at Di Beichen in confusion. Young master, what did you do? All the elders had curious looks on their faces, and their eyes were filled with deep satisfaction and joy. Now, facing this young master, they could only trust him from the bottom of their hearts. What do you think of the formation I set up that day? Di Beichen raised his eyebrows slightly, and a mysterious smile appeared on his unparalleled face. Everyone was stunned, and they thought of the formation Di Beichen used on the day when the Dark Sacred Assembly was established. It was because of that trap formation that blocked a group of cultivators, giving Di Beichen the opportunity to use the summoning technique. You mean that trap formation? Di Yujua's eyes lit up. Di Beichen nodded slightly. The trap formation is very useful. If it can be used on a normal day, it will be of great help to cultivators. It's just that it's not easy to learn formations, and not every cultivator has talent in this area. Di Yujua's face revealed a thoughtful look. It would be good if they could master the formation, but it was not realistic to let everyone learn it. After all, many people did not have enough energy. They did not have the time to study other things other than cultivation. Father, take a look at this. Look, Nangong of Nangong Yu, Nangong Nong Nangong Di Yujua took the jade. It was a very simple piece of jade. It didn't even have any carvings on it. It didn't look special at all. However, after sensing it carefully, Di Yujua found that there was some special power in the jade. What's in this jade? Everyone looked at the ordinary jade curiously. They all understood that Di Beichen must have his reasons for taking it out at this time. Bailey Hongzhuang also looked at Di Beichen in confusion. In fact, she also noticed that Beichen was busy fiddling with something when he was refining pills carefully. However, she didn't ask about it in detail because Beichen wasn't just studying formations, he was also studying talisman arts. Chapter 6203. Could it be that you've engraved the formation into the jade? A thought flashed through her mind and Bailey Hongzhuang immediately guessed. She still remembered that Di Beichen had told her before that the jade could carry the power of a cultivator, just like how rune techniques also carried some special power in various runes. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Di Beichen's face suddenly revealed a smile. You're really smart. Everyone's eyes lit up. They were not unfamiliar with formations, but there weren't many formation masters. Only when constructing family formations or teleportation formations would they think of formation masters. But at the same time, no one dared to look down on formation masters. Because a formation master could casually arrange a formation that could bring a lot of trouble. Cultivators of the same level would definitely not be a match for a formation master. Just like how Di Beichen trapped so many cultivators with a trap formation. To do this, there were very few people who could do it except for formation masters. Recently, I've been studying formations and rune techniques. Runes are engraved with special runes to achieve a certain effect. Formations are completed through the arrangement of spatial nodes. I felt that there was some commonality between the two, so I tried my own idea. I didn't expect it to be successful. D. Baichen's lips slightly raised. After a smile appeared on his handsome face, he became even more charming. His pair of black eyes were as charming as black diamonds. His wife was so good at so many methods. As her husband, how could he not know anything? Therefore, during this period of time, he also seriously studied formations and rune techniques. The reason for such progress was, on one hand, because of the books left by He Shinjun. The contents of the books were very precious and gave him a very deep understanding. On the other hand, the several seniors in the abandoned immortal forest saw that he was interested in these things and gave him a few words of advice. Although it was just a few simple words, it often made him feel enlightened. He could clearly think through the problems that he didn't understand before. Not only that, they also encouraged him to innovate. It was rare for Senior Yu to tell him so earnestly that since these things were created by cultivators, why couldn't they create something else? As long as it was theoretically possible, there was a possibility of success. He felt that these words gave him a lot of inspiration, so after this idea appeared in his mind, he began to study it. However, studying it was not an easy thing. He spent a lot of time and energy. He didn't even know how much jade was wasted. But the moment he succeeded, he felt an unprecedented satisfaction. After this success, he felt that he had some different understanding of formations and rune techniques. So you're saying that there's an array formation inside this jade stone? Diujua asked. D. Baichen nodded slightly. Father, you can try to activate it. Diujua looked at the jade stone in his hand and sent a wisp of mental energy into it. Immediately after, an invisible barrier appeared in front of them, directly enveloping the few elders. The few elders stretched out their hands to feel it. Sure enough, this was a simple trapping array. After testing it with their strength, they found that the trapping array was able to withstand a lot of power. Chapter 6204. However, I believe that with some more time, the power of this array will increase. D. Baichen's gaze landed on the trap array. His lips curled into a smile, showing his confidence. Practice makes perfect. As long as he tried more, the effect would continue to increase. Diujua looked at D. Baichen in amazement. He never thought that his son would become so multi-talented. Not only did he learn the art of arrays, he also learned the art of runes. Most importantly, he was able to combine the two together to create something like this. The power of this trap array is not weak. If it's used to escape or chase someone, it's excellent. Di Lin Xian's eyes were filled with satisfaction. Baichen, you're very qualified to be the young master. Grandfather, you're too kind. Di Baichen chuckled. Good lad. Di Lin Xian patted Di Baichen's shoulder. His face was glowing with confidence. With these explosives and arrays, the younger generation of cultivators will have more means to protect themselves. I believe that our family will become better and better in the future. Don't forget that our Lin family has a share too, Lin Wenlan said. Don't worry. How could I forget about you? Di Lin Xian rolled his eyes. After so many years, old Lin's stingy personality had not changed at all. Lin Wenlan looked at Di Lin Xian with disdain. Old man, you're the one who eats everything for yourself. Nonsense. Seeing that the two people who were so dignified just a moment ago had returned to their normal selves, the laughter in the meeting hall became even louder. The news of the Di family destroying the Jun family and the Xiao family quickly spread throughout the upper realm. No one was surprised by this news. This battle had long been within everyone's expectations. However, many people originally thought that the Di family would be the ones to lose. They never thought that after going around in circles, the Di family would rise so powerfully. Abandoned immortal forest. After the problems with the Jun family and the Xiao family were resolved, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' lives returned to normal. Everyone spent their days cultivating in the abandoned immortal forest. Under the guidance of the seniors, everyone's strength increased rapidly. The several seniors did not teach them any martial arts or powerful moves, but it was these very simple cultivation methods that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could feel the beauty of. They vaguely understood the meaning behind the seniors' words. What they pursued was not super powerful moves, but to turn every move they used on a daily basis into the strongest move. Returning to one's natural state was probably referring to this realm. Everyone had noticed this when they fought with Zhongli Mu. This was because Zhongli Mu didn't use any special moves. In fact, it looked like he was just using some simple punches and kicks. However, when they were fighting, everyone felt that his every move was very difficult to deal with. That valiant strength was enough to make cultivators of the same level unable to block it. His speed was also astonishing. Regardless of whether it was the strength of his palms, arms, or legs, Zhong Limu was practically invincible under the guidance of the seniors. Towards Zhong Limu's valiant performance, everyone was not discouraged at all. Instead, they felt that there was more to strive for. Because as long as they continued to cultivate like this, they would also reach Zhong Limu's level in the future. Everyone has improved a lot recently. The gap between us and Zhong Limu has narrowed a little. Chapter 6205. Isn't that so? Shengguan Yingying suddenly snickered. Yesterday, I heard from Senior Zhongli and Grandma Hua that Zhong Limu has been cultivating even harder recently. I'm afraid he's feeling the pressure of us catching up. No wonder I feel that Senior Zhongli's attitude towards us has improved a lot recently. Bailey Hongzhuang pondered. Among all of them, Senior Zhongli was undoubtedly the coldest. Usually, other than when Zhong Limu was around, he rarely spoke. However, it didn't mean that he didn't want to talk to them. It was just that he didn't like to talk because of his personality. During this period of time, they all noticed that Senior Zhongli had been teaching them more and more. At first, everyone was flattered. Now that they knew the reason, they completely understood. Clearly, Senior Zhongli wanted to help Zhong Limu improve even more, so he gave them pointers. Because of the pressure, Zhong Limu wouldn't slack off. Sure enough, grandfather's love is very deep. Di Beichen smiled faintly. Hearing that, everyone looked at each other. If Zhong Limu knew about it, who knew how he would feel? Di Beichen Xiao Xuanzi went to find Little Blossom again today? Bailey Hongzhuang looked around and didn't see Xiao Xuanzi. She immediately guessed that it was possible. How persistent was Xiao Xuanzi for Little Blossom? During this period of time, everyone had deeply experienced that no matter what, they would never leave the love that they had for each other. Should be. Master Xiao Xuanzi follows Little Blossom every day and doesn't cultivate with us. Will his cultivation fall behind? Xiaobai was a little worried. Everyone had been working hard to cultivate. Only Xiao Xuanzi was busy chasing Little Blossom all day. It was fine if it was only for a short period of time. However, if it was for a long time, it would be inappropriate if his cultivation fell behind. Don't worry. Xiao Xuanzi's recent increase in strength isn't less than ours. Di Beichen smiled faintly. Xiaobai was slightly stunned. It hadn't seen Xiao Xuanzi recently, so it wasn't clear about his situation. Xiren and the others also looked at Di Beichen curiously. How could his strength increase by leaps and bounds when he didn't cultivate all day? It's because of Little Blossom. The calm voice didn't have any sympathy for Xiao Xuanzi. Di Beichen's figure flashed and began cultivating again. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other and couldn't help but chuckle. Little Blossom was stronger than Little Xuanzi. Xiao Xuanzi's shameless appearance and Little Blossom's temper was unavoidable. Teet. It. On this day, when Di Beichen and the others were cultivating, suddenly, a series of footsteps came from the front. That teet. Teet teet ts teet. That. Could it be that someone is here? Shengguan Yingying's heart tightened. Zhong Limu had mentioned before that there would be cultivators from the immortal region who would come here to look for able-bodied men. In the past they had been very cautious. However, after cultivating here for so long, they had never met anyone. Gradually they felt relieved. Now they suddenly heard such unfamiliar footsteps. Could it be that something like this really happened? Chapter 6206. After coming to this conclusion, the group did not hesitate and quickly flew backwards. Even though everyone's strength had increased by quite a bit, there was still a large gap between them and cultivators from the immortal region. Once they met, they would be in danger. However, just as Di Beichen and the others were retreating, four figures suddenly appeared behind them. Trying to run? The man in the lead looked at Di Beichen and the others mockingly, as if he was looking at prey. I heard some movement earlier. I didn't think that there would be people here. Big brother, they don't look like people from the forsaken immortal forest. Could they be here to play? Nailan Shui looked back and forth between Di Beichen, Bai Li Yanche and Mo Yunjua. The three of them did not look like abandoned people from the forsaken immortal forest, regardless of their appearance, clothing, or aura. Most importantly, such a handsome man was extremely rare even in the immortal realms. Nalan Fu looked at Nalan Shui's coquettish expression and understood what she was thinking. Don't be silly, carefully sense their cultivation. They're only at the heavenly moon realm. They can't possibly be cultivators from the immortal region. As soon as he appeared, he had already checked the other party's cultivation base. After all, if they really were cultivators from the immortal region, it would not be good for them to offend them. Hearing this, Nalan Shui was stunned. After carefully sensing their cultivation, her expression turned ugly. They're indeed only at the heavenly moon realm. It seems that they really are from the forsaken immortal forest. Nalan Shui sighed, her eyes filled with regret. How great would it be if such a graceful and elegant man was someone from the immortal realm? However, their powers were simply too weak. On top of that, they were abandoned people. They would never be able to enter the immortal region in this lifetime. What a waste of her feelings. As Nalan Fu and the others were talking, another 4 figures appeared behind Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Nalan Fu, you're quite fast. You've actually surpassed us. The man smiled. From his casual attitude, one could tell that he was very familiar with Nalan Fu. How is it? Are these people the abandoned people? That's right. Nalan Fu's lips curled into a smile, revealing his white and neat teeth. Our harvest today is not bad. The hearts of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others sank. Although they did not know how strong these people were, they could tell that they were very strong from the way they spoke. If the strength of the heavenly moon realm was nothing in their eyes, then even if they took out all of their trump cards, they would still not be a match for them. What should we do? Shangguan Yingying's expression was extremely ugly. She was really unhappy when she saw these guys casually talking about them as if they were goods. However, she also understood that these people were very powerful. If she angered them now, it would not do her any good. The other party is stronger than us and they have a lot of people. We won't have the upper hand if we fight back. Di Beichen said solemnly, let's calm down and see what the other party wants to do first. They had been cultivating here recently, but the place where Zhongli Mu occasionally cultivated was a certain distance away from here. Chapter 6207. Isn't there a shortage of people at the spirit-devouring mine recently? Many of the abandoned people have been captured, and now they are looking for people everywhere. Let's send these guys over and I think we can exchange them for some resources. Nalan Fu was beaming with joy. They were resting today, so they wanted to come to the abandoned immortal forest to play. If they could find a few abandoned people and exchange them for some money, it would be a small profit. Just now, they were competing to see who could find the abandoned people, but they didn't expect that they would find them so smoothly and quickly. They really want to capture us to mine. Mo Yunjua's eyes were hazy. When he first met Zhongli Mu, he had mentioned this point. Although Zhongli Mu didn't say it in detail at that time, they vaguely understood that mining was not only hard work, but there seemed to be some unknown problems. In short, this was definitely a very bad job. Duan Rong seemed to see that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were thinking about their own ideas, and he couldn't help but say, don't think about it anymore. I advise you to follow us obediently so that you can suffer less physical pain. Otherwise, once you are injured by us and go to the spirit-devouring mine, your situation will be worse. As soon as he finished speaking, Duan Rong's aura spread out directly as if warning everyone. After feeling this tyrannical aura, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were shocked. This kind of cultivation was indeed much stronger than theirs. The strength of the cultivators in the immortal realm is indeed outrageous. Shangguan Yingying's face was pale. This kind of aura was obviously stronger than that of the Di family's patriarch. They were indeed no match for him. At this moment, everyone gave up the idea of resisting. If they were seriously injured here, it would be very difficult to escape later. Instead of this, it was better to go to the spirit-devouring mine first. After noticing the change in the expressions of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, Duan Rong and the others also showed satisfied smiles on their faces. Only people in good condition who were sent to the spirit-devouring mine could be sold for a good price, and they would have another income today. Let's go. Under Nalan Fu's lead, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others directly sat on their flying magic tool and flew out of the abandoned immortal forest. Seeing Nalan Fu's flying magic tool, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others carefully sized it up. They found that this flying magic tool was undoubtedly simpler and lighter than the ones in the upper realm, and its flying speed was faster. This was the first time they had seen people from the immortal realm. These people were truly heaven's favored children with a single glance. Nalan Shui sat on the flying magic tool, but she still couldn't help but look at Di I didn't expect him to be an abandoned person. What a waste of his good-looking face. Di Beichen faintly glanced at Nayland Shui. His deep and handsome eyes were covered with frost. When Nayland Shui felt this gaze, she couldn't help but retract her gaze. Her expression was slightly awkward. Schwenger, why are you telling them all this? Nayland Fu raised his eyebrows. These fellows are quite smart. They knew that they were no match for us, so they didn't resist. You should know very well what happens to the people in the spirit-devouring mine. To put it bluntly, they are just coolies. These abandoned people shouldn't be alive in the first place. Now that we've asked them to help mine, we've given them a chance to show their value. Otherwise, it's meaningless for them to live. Duan Rong laughed. Chapter 6208. It's funny. The abandoned people of the abandoned immortal forest never give up. Many of them want to enter the immortal region. They're really overestimating themselves. Nayland Fu shook his head. They don't even think about it. What right do they have to enter the immortal region with their status? Abandoned people are abandoned people. Even if they work hard to cultivate, their strength can't surpass the people of the immortal region. Duan Rong's eyes were full of pride. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others didn't say anything. They just listened to Nayland Fu and the others talk. These fellows clearly thought that noble blood flowed in their bones, and they looked down on everyone other than the immortal region. That kind of pride that seemed to be innate really made one speechless. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly understood why Granny Hua and the others chose to live in the abandoned immortal forest. Although the cultivators in front of them were very strong, it was obvious that they were nothing in front of Granny Hua and the others. With these seniors' abilities, it was definitely not difficult to enter the immortal region. Perhaps they couldn't stand the high and mighty attitude of the cultivators of the immortal region. After all, this kind of attitude was really disgusting. Not long after, the flying magic tool landed steadily. All of a sudden, the noise outside became noisy. All of you get out. Nayland Fu shouted. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others slowly walked out of the flying magic tool, only to find that they were already near a black mine. The environment here was completely different from the abandoned immortal forest. Everywhere they looked was black. There was no green or vitality. These ores looked very hard, as if they had been polished. They were abnormally smooth. Spirit-devouring ores were probably referring to this place. Bailey Hongzhuang tried to use her mind power to touch the spirit-devouring ores, but found that it was very difficult to penetrate. This feeling was similar to the situation in the ancient battlefield. When she was looking for blood spirit stones, the ground was also very difficult to penetrate with her mind power. However, the resistance of this spirit-devouring ores was even greater than that of blood spirit stones. Di Beichen and the others were also cautiously looking around. They were not too worried about the current environment. Although their strength was not a match for these people, it was not difficult for them to escape. Brotherly, Duan Rong waved at a big man in front of him with great familiarity. The burly man's figure was extremely sturdy. His entire body was filled with muscles. His skin was dark and his face was rough. It was obvious that he was tanned because he had been guarding the spirit-devouring ore here. Young Master Duan, what brings you here today? Brotherly, these are the abandoned people we caught from the abandoned immortal forest. How much can you sell them for? Hearing this, Li Wei was slightly stunned. His gaze immediately fell on Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Looking at the bearing of these people, he thought they were friends of Duan Rong and others, but he didn't expect them to be the abandoned people of the abandoned immortal forest. Really? Li Wei was stunned. Young Master Duan, the abandoned people you caught are different from the ones you usually see. Haha, I thought so too when I first saw it. Duan Rong chuckled. Big Brother Li, these abandoned people have become smarter. I don't know where they bought their supplies from. If it weren't for their low cultivation, I would have thought that they were from the immortal region. Li Wei carefully checked the cultivation of Di Beichen and the others. Only then did he relax. I didn't expect there to be such a thing. No wonder these abandoned people have become more and more difficult to find recently. Chapter 6209. Duan Rong chuckled. Although these guys aren't very strong, they're still strong. I believe they can work here for a while. No problem. Li Wei nodded. Since you brought them here, the price will naturally not be low. Bailey Hongzhuang noticed that Li Wei and Duan Rong had walked to the side. Li Wei even took out some spirit stones and handed them to Duan Rong. After seeing the blood-red spirit stone, Bailey Hongzhuang recognized at a glance that it was the blood spirit stone that they had obtained before. The ancient battlefield was indeed from the immortal region. These blood spirit stones were the spirit stones used by the cultivators of the immortal region. After receiving the payment, Duanrong smiled and said, "Brother Li will take our leave first. If you find any abandoned people in the future, remember to bring them to me. I definitely won't treat you unfairly. Don't worry." After Duanrong left, Li Wei looked at Di Beichen and the others and said, "You guys go over there and get your tools. From now on you'll be mining here. Hand in at least 3 spirit-devouring stones every day. Otherwise you'll end up like them." Looking in the direction that Li Wei was pointing at, everyone saw a tragic scene. Smack. Long whips ruthlessly lashed the bodies of several cultivators. They seemed to have been mining here all year round. They were skinny and their bodies were covered in wounds. After a few whips they were drenched in blood. "You can't even hand in 3 spirit-devouring stones a day, you bunch of trash. Useless things. If you can't dig it out then die. I'll beat you to death." The roars were mixed with pleas for mercy, causing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to frown. These cultivators must have come from the abandoned immortal forest, but they were captured by the people of the immortal region to mine here. From then on they had no freedom and had to stay here all day. These bastards. Ling cursed. Based on this, it could be seen that the people of the immortal region did not treat the cultivators of the abandoned immortal forest as humans. "Fang Qing, these people will follow you. Tell them what you have to do every day." Li Wei waved his hand and summoned a young cultivator. The man looked to be in his 20s. Compared to those cultivators who were beaten up, he looked much better. "Brother Li, don't worry. I will teach them well. Do your best." After Li Wei left, Fang Qing looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Her eyes were filled with curiosity, but after noticing the surroundings she did not say anything. She only said, "Follow me." After receiving the bamboo baskets and shovels, they followed Li Wei into the mine. When there was no one around, Li Wei said, "You don't look like abandoned people. Are you from the Crossing Immortal Domain?" Crossing Immortal Domain. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others heard about this place from the third person. "You know about the Crossing Immortal Domain?" Di Beichen asked tentatively. Fang Qing nodded slightly. "Actually, I came from the Crossing Immortal Domain. I think you guys look very similar." Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other. If it was a normal ascension they should have come to the immortal region through the Crossing Immortal Domain. However, they did not ascend at all. They came to the abandoned immortal forest through the Chaos Ring. "Brother Fang, why were you captured to mine after ascending to the Crossing Immortal Domain?" Chapter 62:10. Hearing this, Fang Qing sighed. In the past, the Crossing Immortal Domain was the place where everyone ascended. If they could successfully ascend to the Immortal Domain, then they could be called immortals. However, ever since the spirit-devouring mine was discovered, the people of the Immortal Domain were unwilling to mine it themselves. However, they wanted the spirit-devouring stone, so they extended their claws to the abandoned immortal forest and the Crossing Immortal Domain. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others finally understood. When they asked Granny Hua about the matter earlier, Granny Hua only said a few words casually and did not explain it in detail, so they were not too clear. Now that Fang Qing said this, they understood a little. Originally, this spirit-devouring mine was mainly done by the abandoned people of the abandoned immortal forest. However, most of these abandoned people have been captured. They really can't find anyone to mine, so they thought of a way to find some people from the Crossing Immortal Domain. Speaking of which, it's really unlucky. We can only blame our bad luck for encountering this when we ascended. Fang Qing's face could not hide the gloominess. "These days, I've been seeing the abandoned people of the abandoned immortal forest. It's rare to see people from the Crossing Immortal Domain, so I said a few more words. Don't take offense. Big Brother Fang, we still have to thank you for introducing the situation. If you didn't tell us, we really wouldn't know what was going on," Wen Xiren said. Originally they were also a little curious as to why Fang Qing was so warm and familiar. It was only at this moment that they completely understood. It was probably because she had stayed in the spirit-devouring mine for a while but did not even have a familiar face, so she could not help but open her mouth when she met them. In short, it's bad luck to be caught in this spirit-devouring mine. Fang Qing secretly spat. "We can't stay in this place for long." "Big Brother Fang, what do you mean?" Di Beichen's eyes revealed a trace of doubt. He vaguely felt that this place was very strange, but he could not feel where the problem was for the time being. The spirit-devouring stone is a kind of spirit stone that is very helpful in increasing spiritual power. The price is very high, but this spirit-devouring stone comes from the spirit-devouring mine. This spirit-devouring mine is different from the spirit-devouring stone. There are many benefits. This is a place of torture. If he wanted to dig out the spirit-devouring stone, he could only use his mental power to penetrate the ore. However, this spirit-devouring stone was very difficult to penetrate, so he could only see a little distance. Not only that, but the spirit-devouring ore will also continuously deplete one's spiritual energy. Fang Qing raised her eyebrows and subconsciously looked outside. You should have seen the cultivators who were beaten up earlier, right? They have stayed in the spirit-devouring mine for a long time and their spirits are low. The possibility of digging up spirit-devouring stones again is very small. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression changed slightly. If the spirit-devouring ore will constantly eat away at a cultivator's spiritual power, then after a long time, will the cultivator's spiritual power be completely eaten away? Of course. Fang Qing nodded, a trace of disgust in her eyes. This is the reason why the spirit-devouring mine has always lacked people. Those fellows in the immortal realm don't treat us as humans at all. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others fell silent. They could roughly guess what would happen to the cultivators who had lost their mental strength. The so-called spirit-devouring stones were exchanged with these people's lives. Everyone, let's start mining first. If we can't complete the goal every day, we'll be punished. Chapter 62:11. According to Fang Qing's introduction, the location of the spirit-devouring stone was very scattered, so everyone could only use their mental strength to investigate. After finding the spirit-devouring stone with their mental strength, they used a shovel to dig it up. These shovels were also special. The spirit-devouring stone was very hard. Using other weapons to dig it would be very slow. After using this shovel, although the speed was not fast, it was at least a little faster than other weapons. In the end, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others found a quieter place and began to try to dig. Everyone used their mental strength to sense the situation in the spirit-devouring stone. Their mental strength penetrated the spirit-devouring stone with difficulty to observe the existence of the spirit-devouring stone. In the process of searching, they also found that their mental strength seemed to be absorbed by something. Although it was very small, they could still detect it if they observed carefully. This spirit-devouring stone is too strange. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. She did not have the slightest good impression of the black spirit-devouring stone in front of her. This spirit-devouring stone can help cultivators improve their mental strength, but it is constantly eating away at the mental strength of the miners. Could it be that the spirit-devouring stone is absorbing it? Di Beichen frowned slightly. This kind of feeding and reverse feeding state really made people feel complicated. Big Brother Fang said that the impact of mining in a short period of time is not great. Let's complete today's goal first and see what this spirit-devouring stone looks like. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows slightly. Although they were in the spirit-devouring stone and not the real immortal domain, this place was already very close to the immortal domain. When I become stronger, I must find that Nalan Fu and say that he looks down on us. When my strength surpasses him, let's see if he can still say such words. When Xiren's face was filled with anger. Recalling the condescending look of Nalan Fu and the others made him very unhappy. Hearing this, a cold look flashed across everyone's eyes. As for these people, they would definitely meet again in the future. The distribution of these spirit-devouring stones is very scattered. Let's split up and search. Di Beichen looked around and said slowly. Everyone nodded. According to Fang Qing's introduction, most of the cultivators in the spirit-devouring mine were abandoned people of the abandoned immortal forest. Although they were filled with anger towards the steward, they did not have any hostility towards the people who also came to mine. Because they were all in the same boat, they were already miserable when they came here, so they naturally wouldn't make things difficult for each other. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but sigh. The abandoned people in the abandoned immortal forest didn't do anything wrong. They were only treated like this because they weren't from the immortal region. The situation in the crossing celestial region wasn't much better. It seemed like the celestial region was much crueler than the upper realm. At this moment, everyone completely understood why Shuyu had returned to the upper realm after going to the crossing immortal region. In the upper realm, he was the #1 expert that everyone respected. However, after going to the crossing immortal domain, not only did he not have any advantage, he might even be captured to mine. Between the two, if it was anyone else, they would probably choose to stay in the crossing immortal region. However, Fang Qing's conversation with them was really too short. There were still many things that she couldn't ask. She could only wait for everyone to get familiar with each other before asking properly. After searching for a while, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes suddenly lit up because she found a spirit-devouring stone in the spirit-devouring mine underground. Chapter 62:12. After Xiaohei saw that there was no one else around, she also revealed herself and began to help Bailey Hongzhuang search and mine. When the shovel dug into the spirit-devouring ore, Bailey Hongzhuang also understood why the number of spirit-devouring ores that everyone found every day was so limited. It was because this spirit-devouring ore was simply too hard. Even with a special shovel, it was abnormally strenuous to dig it up. At this moment, all elemental powers seemed to have lost their effect. The only thing that was useful was pure power. The immortal region is indeed the immortal region. Even mining is not something that ordinary people can do. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips twitched. In any case, she was a cultivator of the heavenly moon realm, but she never thought that mining would be so difficult. If it was a cultivator with a weaker cultivation, the shovel might not even be able to pierce into the ground. Master, leave this kind of hard work to me. Xiaohei took up the heavy responsibility in a timely manner. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Xiaohei with a smile and said, "Then I'll leave it to you. I'll go look for other spirit-devouring ores." "No problem." Xiaohei patted her chest and promised. Bailey Hongzhuang continued to search for the spirit-devouring ores in the surroundings. After searching, she found that the situation was just as Fang Qing had said. The spirit-devouring ores were too scattered. Even if she found one, it was only a single one. To find 3 spirit-devouring ores in a day, it did not seem like a lot, but it would take a lot of time. Fortunately, my mental power has always been paying attention to improving. The range of my observation is not very small. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed faintly. When she found the 3 spirit-devouring ores, the sky was already dark. Looking at the black fist-sized spirit-devouring ores in her hand, she could sense the energy fluctuations contained in them. This kind of energy fluctuation was different from the pure vitality in the spirit ores. It was a completely different kind of energy. Even if it was just a slight touch of mental power, Bailey Hongzhuang could feel that her mental power was being nourished. He had never experienced such a feeling before. It was no wonder that everyone wanted to obtain such a good item. "I'll look for other spirit-devouring stones." Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows slightly. This thing was indeed a treasure. If mining here would cause their spiritual power to continuously regress, then if they were to use the spirit-devouring stone to nourish their spiritual power while mining, would it be able to offset it? When this thought emerged, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't stop herself. She had to give it a try and see if it had such an effect. Not long after, Di Beichen arrived at Bailey Hongzhuang's side. "Wife, how's your search going?" "I'm digging for the 4th spirit-devouring stone." Bailey Hongzhuang raised her head when she heard the voice. Her beautiful face was filled with a bright smile. She was indeed more beautiful than a flower. Looking at that smile full of healing power, Di Beichen's mood unconsciously became better. His wife was really optimistic. She could still maintain such a good mood in such an environment. It was really admirable. "How's your harvest?" Di Beichen smiled faintly. "I found 5 spirit-devouring stones." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. "You're very fast. It's not easy to find these spirit-devouring stones. It took me so much time to find the 4th one. I was lucky to find 2 spirit-devouring stones together." Chapter 62:13. Soon Mo Yunjue and the others returned one after another. Shengguan Yingying had a bitter face. "This spirit-devouring mine is too complicated. I've only dug out 2 spirit-devouring stones after searching for so long." "It's okay. I have an extra one here for you." Mo Yunjue took out a spirit-devouring stone and handed it to Shengguan Yingying. Seeing this, Shengguan Yingying took the spirit-devouring stone and said in shame, "I've dragged you guys down. You might just be unlucky. The place you found today has fewer spirit-devouring stones." Mo Yunjue's voice was as emotionless as ever, but the comfort in his words washed away the chill and revealed a trace of warmth. Shengguan Yingying looked at Mo Yunjue with a gentle gaze. She knew that Mo Yunjue was actually cold on the surface but not cold on the heart. It's getting late. Let's go back, Bailey Hongzhuang said. She noticed that some people had already dug out the spirit-devouring stone and returned. They wanted to meet Fang Qing earlier so that they could get more information from him. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others walked out of the mine, Fang Qing was already waiting for them. After looking at the harvest of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, Fang Qing heaved a sigh of relief. She immediately collected everyone's basket and handed it to Li Wei. However, when Fang Qing handed the spirit-devouring stone to Li Wei, Bailey Hongzhuang noticed that Fang Qing had secretly added an extra spirit-devouring stone. Li Wei quietly accepted the spirit-devouring stone and smiled at Fang Qing. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood. No wonder Li Wei's attitude towards Fang Qing was different from the others. It turned out that there was such a relationship between them. Sure enough, no matter when, buying people's hearts was an important method. Fang Qing walked over from Li Wei's side with a smile on her face. Then she said to everyone, "Follow me. I'll bring you to the place where you'll stay tonight." Hearing this, everyone followed behind Fang Qing and walked inside. "You guys did well today. You completed the mission on the first day. Many people don't understand the situation at all when they come here for the first time, or they don't care about it at all, so they are always beaten very badly." A trace of gloom flashed across Fang Qing's eyes, as if she had recalled some unpleasant memories. "This is all thanks to Brother Fang's advice," said Di Beichen. "Usually, I don't bother to say much when I meet other people. It's just that it's rare to meet someone from the crossing celestial domain. We're all in the same boat, so I said a few words. In short, since you're already here, you should be mentally prepared. Unless you can leave this place, you will end up like those people sooner or later." A trace of sadness appeared on Fang Qing's face. Even though Li Wei and the others usually treated him well, he knew very well that it was just a relationship of use. Other than not being punished like the others, there was nothing he could do to change the situation. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other and could hear the helplessness in Fang Qing's words. "Big Brother Fang, have you heard of a person called Shuyu?" Bailey Hongzhuang saw that Fang Qing seemed to have a lot of things that no one could say, so she asked her own question. "How do you know Shuyu?" Fang Qing was a little surprised. She put away her original disappointment and a thick curiosity appeared on her face. Everyone's eyes lit up. It seemed that they had not asked the wrong person. Fang Qing really knew Shuyu. "To be honest, we came from the same place as Senior Shuyu, so we've heard some things about him." Chapter 62:14. Looking at the nervousness and curiosity on Fang Qing's face, Di Beichen nodded. He went back. Fang Qing's expression suddenly became extremely complicated. In the end, there was a hint of relief. That guy is not only bold but also very lucky. He actually succeeded in going back. "Brother Fang, can you tell us about the situation at that time?" Bailey Hongzhuang asked. "Since you know Shuyu, didn't he tell you?" Fang Qing was a little puzzled. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head slightly. "Although we know Senior Shuyu, we don't know him very well. We only heard some of his deeds." "I see." Fang Qing understood. "Back then, we were all in the Crossing Immortal Domain. Actually, after we arrived at the Crossing Immortal Domain, as long as we could successfully ascend, we could become a true immortal. However, the Immortal Domain closed the entrance to the Crossing Immortal Domain, so we stayed in the Crossing Immortal Domain. During that time, all of us were thinking about how to successfully reach the Immortal Domain because the cultivation resources in the Crossing Immortal Domain were not enough, and there was a mysterious force suppressing us. Perhaps it was because one had to pay a certain price to become an immortal, and this price also had a time limit. If one did not succeed in the stipulated time, their cultivation would regress. Because of this pressure, all of us were thinking of ways. However, other than the entrance, it was too difficult to reach the Immortal Domain from the Crossing Immortal Domain. Many cultivators tried to rush over directly, but in the end they all lost their lives. At that time we were all in despair. She was a very smart person. After he realized that he could not successfully ascend, he thought about how to go back. I remember that he spent a lot of time researching how to go back. In the end, one day he broke through the manager's guard and disappeared. Fang Qing's gaze was distant. Her thoughts had returned to the painful and confused memories of the past. At that time, was Senior Shuyu the only one who broke through? Mo Yunjue asked. They had only seen Shuyu once, but they did not expect such a thing to happen. At that time there were 3 other people who broke through with Shuyu. However, the 3 of them were not as lucky as Shuyu. The 3 of them were caught and died while Shuyu disappeared. From then on, everyone gave up on the idea of going back. We all subconsciously believed that Shu Yu was already dead, but we didn't expect that he actually succeeded. The corners of Fang Qing's lips curled up into a smile. If I had known earlier, I would have given it a try. Unlike now, I don't even have the chance to give it a try. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other. Under such circumstances, they could not comfort Fang Qing. The spirit-devouring mine was indeed a place that made people despair. I'm afraid that Shu Yu will never come back to the crossing immortal domain again. However, he shouldn't have done that. He knew that the crossing immortal domain is such a place, yet he didn't tell the junior about it. Fang Qing sighed faintly and patted Di Beichen and Mo Yunjua's shoulders. Those who can come to the crossing immortal domain are all heaven's favored ones from their previous planes. I thought that I would have a better future after I ascended. Who would have thought that I would end up in such a situation? If I had known earlier, I would have stayed there peacefully. At least I would have lived a comfortable life. Big brother Fang, haven't you ever thought of running away? Suddenly Di Beichen's voice rang out. Chapter 62:15. Beichen, you can't say such words in front of others. If you're not careful, you might lose your life, Fang Qing said nervously. Di Beichen's lips curled up slightly. Brother Fang, we believe in you. Hearing this, Fang Qing was slightly stunned. Then she smiled in relief and her expression softened. I was wondering why I felt a sense of familiarity when I saw you guys. It seems that we really hit it off. Looking at Fang Qing's appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang keenly noticed that the former's gaze seemed to have changed. If there was still a trace of wariness in the trust before, then this trace of wariness gradually dissipated. It's very difficult to leave this place. I advise you not to have this idea for the time being. The spirit-devouring mine is not far from the immortal realm. With our situation, it's impossible to enter the immortal realm. The cultivators of the immortal realm all have their own identity cards. If they don't have an identity card, even if they pretend to be in, they will be discovered. At that time, their fate will be even worse. Other than that, the other side is the abandoned immortal forest. If we want to run, the only path is the abandoned immortal forest. However, we are not familiar with the abandoned immortal forest at all, and we don't know the situation inside. It's said that the cultivators in the abandoned immortal forest are very repulsive to the cultivators outside. Even if we go to the abandoned immortal forest, our days won't be easy. We can only live in that abandoned place for the rest of our lives. Fang Qing's expression was gloomy, and there was a hint of bitterness in his voice. I really didn't expect that I would end up in such a situation. Fate is really unpredictable. Everyone fell silent. In fact, they had always wanted to enter the immortal realm one day. However, it was so difficult to enter the immortal realm. It was also very difficult for them to complete it. You guys must be tired from digging for the whole day. Don't think too much. Since you're already here, stay here first. There won't be any problems for a short period of time. Fang Qing left after leaving this sentence. That thoughtful look revealed his mood. Clearly, the news of Shu Yu's successful return had stimulated him quite a bit. Inside the house, the living environment was obviously extremely poor. Everyone shared a room. However, after their observation, they found that sharing a room was already very good treatment. The living environment of the others were even worse than theirs. Thinking about it, this was also what Fang Qing had fought for them. Speaking of which, Fang Qing's friendliness came out of nowhere, but no one doubted it. Some malice came for no reason, and sometimes some kindness came for no reason. In the next few days, they also understood why Fang Qing was so kind to them. This was because he was the only one in the entire spirit-devouring mine who came from the crossing immortal domain. The others came from the abandoned immortal forest. Therefore he was the only one left behind. If he hadn't maintained a good relationship with Li Wei, he would have been in the most difficult situation. Now that they had appeared, Fang Qing felt a little more comforted. At least she was no longer alone. When Zhong Limu went to look for Di Beichen and the others after his training, he found that they were all gone. He was a little puzzled. Could it be that something happened at home so they left without saying a word? However, after Lin Xuanzi returned, he realized that something was amiss. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.